Chapter 602. Luli had never been a fan of management and commanding. In the old days, Luli would be in charge of the Blood Evil Island, and Madame Yin would be in charge of the Empire of Godly Prowess. Luli didn't want to get involved in the Inferno either. After all, there were so many powerful warriors, and most of them were from the Clouds Plains. Lu Ling was a born commander and a talented one. Luli would not overstep his bounds and meddle in these matters. Luli preferred battles. The fire leopards were good opponents for him to cultivate this soul-shattering skill. He would not miss this chance. Buzzing, he had cloned himself, and there were dozens of Luli. Many people looked over in surprise. Apart from the human sovereign realm warriors, none of the noble lord realm warriors could see through Luli's real body, which shocked many noble lord realm warriors of the Clouds Plains. Many people were not convinced that Luli was the state counselor of the Empire of Cloud's Prowess. Luli was only at the Eternal Realm, which was so low that they felt they could kill him at any time. Now, many people were looking at Luli in a different light. At least, what Luli was doing now was impressive. The clones contained profound meanings. Those that could learn profound meanings were not average. Good. Luli locked onto a fire leopard and smashed at it with several clones. He was emboldened to find that the fire leopards could not tell which one he was. He locked onto a fire leopard and used several clones to distract it. Then, he hacked at the fire leopard's head with the divine weapon of Dragon King. Bang! A muffled sound rang out as the fire leopard was struck down from the sky. After rolling on the ground a few times, it unexpectedly fell to the ground and stopped moving. Ow! Many people turned to Luli, wondering how powerful he could be. They were all taken aback. Fire leopards were strong in defense. Even noble Lord Realm warriors would have to work together for several rounds to kill them. How could Luli kill a fire leopard in one move? Saint Lord, all hail! Meng Ji and the others shouted. Luli was their Saint Lord. They were proud of him from the bottom of their hearts. The Clouds Plains had so many powerful warriors that they couldn't hold their heads up high. Now that Luli had amazed everyone, they felt they could hold their heads up high. Luli smiled, not too proud. He had been able to defeat noble Lord Realm warriors for a long time. The fire leopard was no different from an average noble Lord Realm warrior. It was not surprising that he could kill it easily. He used the soul-shattering secret technique and sent a powerful force directly into the head of the fire leopard. He had shattered the head of the fire leopard with a single move. Naturally, he could kill it with a single strike. Bang! He raised his divine weapon of Dragon Emperor and smashed it at a fire leopard that was charging at him. With a dull explosion, another fire leopard was sent flying. It rolled a few times on the ground and soon died. Luli was in high spirits. He flew away on his fate wheel. His clones were flying all over the place, and he was everywhere. He kept waving his divine weapon of Dragon King. Every time he swung it, a fire leopard would die. His efficiency was no less than that of 5 human sovereign realm warriors. Even human sovereign realm warriors were surprised. God of Meng had always known that Luli was a freak, but Chu Cheng, Hu Lang, and the others didn't think highly of Luli. If it were not for the fact that he was Lu Ling's sister, they wouldn't even look at Luli. Luli's speed of killing fire leopards was no slower than theirs. This made the few human emperors secretly pout. This pair of siblings were indeed freaks. Lu Ling stood at the entrance of the valley, looking at Luli with pride. Even though Luli had said that he could defeat any warrior of the noble Lord Realm, he couldn't help but be delighted to see her in person. Just like Luli, for her, this brother was her everything. Soon, hundreds of fire leopards were killed again. This time, some were injured but not seriously. Luli asked Yicha to lure hundreds more fire leopards over. Kumeng and the Shadowland race were building illusions outside. Luli was afraid that Kumeng and the others would be hurt, so he told Yicha not to lure too many fire leopards over. The bone spurs on the heads of the fire leopards were collected. Lu Ling had some transported back to the Clouds Plains and asked a master of artifact forging to see if they could make holy grade Xian artifacts. If she could make a batch of holy grade Xian artifacts, she would not sell them, but distribute them to the noble Lord Realm warriors. By then, their combat abilities would be enhanced, and they could conquer the small world faster. Soon, another group of fire leopards came. There were more than 1 million fire leopards nearby. It would take them a long time to deal with hundreds of fire leopards alone. Lu Li and Lu Ling didn't have the courage to lure fire leopards over on a large scale right now. Otherwise, many warriors would die. The illusions were still under construction, and the teams were still in the process of getting used to each other. Lu Li paid no attention to the others. He focused on fighting the fire leopards. His mind was occupied with the soul-shattering skill and how to increase the vibration waves. The soul-shattering skill was effective against noble Lord Realm warriors, but not against human sovereign realm warriors. Human sovereign realm warriors were too powerful. If he could not kill them in one move, it would be Lu Li who would die. If the vibration waves could be increased to dozens or hundreds, the power would be increased. Lu Li could even kill a human sovereign realm warrior with a sneak attack. In order to increase the vibration waves, he must learn a profound meaning and integrate it. Lu Li cherished the opportunity to gain inspiration during a battle. Therefore, he paid no attention to anything else and focused on fighting the fire leopards. He had cloning skills, so the fire leopards could not see through him. Therefore, he was safe. Every time he hacked with the divine weapon of Dragon King, he could kill a fire leopard easily. He seemed to be more relaxed than the 5 human sovereign realm warriors. Yi Cha left the task of luring fire leopards to Yi Hu and went to check on the fire leopards by himself. He had sensed the presence of a royal family among the fire leopards. He wanted to know if there were any beast kings and how many there were. The battle went on for an entire afternoon. At night, Lu Ling gave the order to stop. She asked several human sovereign realm warriors to protect Kumang and the others while they continued to build the formation of illusion. In one afternoon, at least 4,000 fire leopards were killed. None of the warriors died. Only more than 100 were injured. It was a remarkable achievement. Kumang and the others didn't stop. They worked through the night and finally succeeded on the second day. It was a formation of clouds and mist. An area with a radius of thousands of feet outside the valley was shrouded in clouds and mist. However, the clouds and mist could not isolate psychic power. The warriors were all at the noble Lord Realm, and they all had psychic power, so they were not affected. The fire leopards, on the other hand, were greatly affected. The formation of illusion would make the fire leopards go around in circles in a regular pattern. In other words, the fire leopards in the formation of illusion would become live targets. It would be easier and safer for the warriors to kill them. Yi Hu soon attracted hundreds of fire leopards over. Just as Kumang said, all the fire leopards in the clouds and mist became blind and idiots. They could only go around in a regular pattern. The warriors were not affected at all, and they could target the fire leopards with psychic power. Good. The Shadowland race has made a great contribution again. Lu Ling nodded to herself. She began to arrange the formation. She separated the 10 teams into 100 teams with more than a dozen warriors in each team. In this way, they could move more flexibly and the clearing speed would be faster. Chapter 603. With the formation built by Kumang, the speed of clearing was sped up. Yi Hu was now in charge of luring fire leopards over. Usually, by the time he lured a group over, the clearing would be completed. Warriors of the Clouds Plains were hostile to the ancient races. But now, they had changed their minds. After all, they were allies, and there was a human sovereign realm warrior among the ancient races. What was more, Kumang was a great help. There was a special race that was good at healing. Many wounded warriors relied on them to heal quickly. Kumang and the others began to build more formations of illusion. They all knew there was a Beast King among the fire leopards. The Beast King would not be alarmed yet, but it would be alarmed when too many fire leopards were killed. Kumang wanted to build some ancient formations to help the 5 human sovereign realm warriors kill the Beast King. This was a good chance for Kumang and the others. Lu Ling could give them whatever materials they needed. Usually, they wouldn't be so extravagant. But this time, someone was providing them with materials. Naturally, they must practice more. If they could build one of the 3 formations of destruction, Kumang would become the most powerful one among the Shadowland race in 10,000 years. Lu Li paid no attention to them. He focused on killing fire leopards and studying the soul-shattering skill. When he was thinking about something, he would be very serious. He wouldn't care even if the sky was falling. Subconsciously, he believed that Lu Ling would take care of everything. 8 days went by, and the number of fire leopards killed had reached more than 60,000 to 70,000. Finally, there were deaths. 2 noble Lord Realm warriors were pierced in the heart and died instantly. There was no time to treat them. The noble Lord Realm warriors of the Clouds Plains were careless. They had been killing fire leopards for a few days, and they felt it was so easy. Inevitably, they would slack off. With 2 dead and a few heavily injured, the rest of the people did not dare to be careless. On the 9th day, a warrior at the peak of the noble Lord Realm suddenly stopped in the middle of a fierce fight. He was confused. If it weren't for the fact that some warriors nearby helped him, he would have been killed in an instant. Ha ha ha. After a moment, the warrior at the peak of the noble Lord Realm burst into laughter. I understand. I finally understand. Finally, I can reach the human sovereign realm. Ha 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 ha. The warrior at the peak of the noble Lord Realm laughed hysterically. He sat on the spot with his legs crossed and began to cultivate. There were more than a dozen fire leopards next to him. Whoosh, in a flash, Hu Lang appeared in front of all the fire leopards. He turned to the dozen people behind him and said, "Don't worry about anything else. Just protect him." The 6th son of the Tu family is very likely to break through to the Renhuang Plain this time. Hu Lang's words shocked many people. There were many at the peak of the noble Lord Realm here, at least 600 or 700. Those warriors had been stuck at the noble Lord Realm for many years, including Brother 6 of the Tu family, who was in closed-door cultivation. He had been at the noble Lord Realm for nearly 50 years. Nobody expected that there was a chance for him to make a breakthrough as soon as he arrived at the Inferno. The laws of heaven and earth here are much clearer and more distinct. I hope that you will be able to comprehend the profound meanings after fighting here for a period of time. Lu Ling's words came to everyone's mind. At first, they thought it was a lie. But now, Brother 6 of the Tu family was enlightened. Everyone's passion was ignited. The human emperor, noble Lord Realm warriors were lords, and human sovereign realm warriors were kings. The difference between a feudal lord and an emperor was like heaven and earth. If they could break through to the Renhuang Plain, it would be of great benefit to themselves and their families. While the group of people were envious and jealous, they became even more serious about the battle. At the same time, he was trying to comprehend the laws of this world through the battle to see if he could comprehend any profound meaning. To reach the human sovereign realm, one must comprehend profound meanings, or else it would be impossible. The reason why human sovereign realm warriors were so powerful was not only because of their force field. More importantly, it was because all human sovereign realm warriors understood profound meanings. Lu Ling was not surprised that they were excited. She didn't even go back to the Clouds Plains and stayed here to take command. It was because she sensed that the Inferno was special. She still couldn't figure out why the laws of heaven and earth in the Inferno were so distinct and distinct. Brother 6 of the Tu family was under her control. She was not worried at all. Even if he could reach the earth immortal realm, he would still be her slave. Therefore, she didn't even ask about it. She just told Hu Lang to protect Brother 6 of the Tu family. Lu Li was still immersed in his own world. He had no idea what was going on outside. Yi Hu kept luring fire leopards over. Yicha hadn't come back yet. He must have gone to the hinterland of the fire leopard's territory. On the 13th day, another warrior had an epiphany. This time, he was at the middle stage of the noble Lord Realm. He didn't meditate on the spot. Instead, he went back to the valley. Without saying anything, he sat on the ground with his legs crossed. This time, everyone's hearts were in turmoil. In just half a month's time, there were already 2 people who were enlightened. Even if they had learned a low-level profound meaning, it was still a profound meaning. The eyes of the 5 human sovereign realm warriors glowed. The outside world didn't know how to reach the earth immortal realm. Only human sovereign realm warriors would know. The most important cultivation after the human sovereign realm was the cultivation of profound meanings. To reach the earth immortal realm, one must learn at least an 8th rank profound meaning, or else it would be impossible to reach that realm. To the outside, profound meanings were hard to learn. It would be good enough if one could learn a low-level profound meaning in one's entire life. The outside world believed that only one profound meaning could be learned, which was wrong. Only human sovereign realm warriors would understand that profound meanings could be integrated. Several low-level profound meanings could be combined into a high-level one. If you want to become stronger, you need to comprehend a stronger profound meaning. It was said that the Grand Master of the Demon-Slaying Hall was the only powerful warrior in the world who had learned a 9th rank profound meaning. For more than 1,000 years, nobody could challenge his position because nobody had learned a 9th rank profound meaning. If the 5 human sovereign realm warriors could learn profound meanings quickly, their abilities would soar. Maybe reaching the Earth Immortal realm wouldn't be a dream. Ha ha ha. 3 days later, Brother 6 of the 2 family suddenly opened his eyes and laughed. His body flew up and rushed in the direction of the canyon. His face was filled with ecstasy. Hu Lang and the other's eyes glowed. Hu Lang shouted, "Brother 6 of the 2 family is about to make a breakthrough. Soon," Brother 6 of the 2 family said. Then he flew into the valley and dashed into the base camp. Clearly, he was ready to reach the human sovereign realm. Buzzing, many people's eyes glowed. They were both envious and jealous. They worked even harder, hoping that they could be the next ones to learn profound meanings. "Someone," Lu Ling shouted. Pointing to a warrior of the Drifting Cloud Hall, she said, "Send a message to Tu and I. Tell him to gather all the talented disciples of the Cloud's plains and send them here. Let them cultivate in this valley." The Shenqi in heaven and earth was rich here. It was easier to learn laws in heaven and earth. This was the best place for cultivation. There were many talented disciples of the Cloud's plains. If they were sent here, their cultivation speed would be faster. Such a shame, Lu Ling sighed. Given a few more decades, they could train a group of Earth Immortal Realm warriors and human Sovereign Realm warriors. By then, they wouldn't have to fear the Samsara Palace. But 10 years was too short. Even if Hu Lang and the others could make breakthroughs, it would still be hard for them to become Earth Immortal Realm warriors. Even if they did become Earth Immortal Realm warriors, could they defeat Earth Immortal Realm warriors of the 4 forces? Chapter 604. In 1 month, more than 400,000 fire leopards had been killed. With the formation of Illusion of the Shadowland race, it was much faster. Only a dozen noble Lord Realm warriors died, and many were injured. But Lu Ling had prepared many elixirs. Even a broken hand could be regrown. The elimination of fire leopards was within everyone's expectation. There was nothing to be happy about. What made people excited was that 11 people had more or less learned something during the month. Brother 6 of the 2 family had reached the human sovereign realm, and one of them had learned a 6th rank profound meaning. For noble Lord Realm warriors, making progress in a small realm was not something to be happy about. With enough treasured materials and decent talent, anyone could reach the peak of the noble Lord Realm. Profound meanings were the most important. Without a powerful, profound meaning, one could not reach the human sovereign realm. The standard for a powerful, profound meaning was a 5th rank one. In other words, one had to learn at least a 5th rank profound meaning to reach the human sovereign realm. In 1 month, 11 had learned a profound meaning, and 1 had reached the human sovereign realm. If this were to spread to the Central Plains, the entire Central Plains would be in an uproar. The 12 royal families would fight for this land at all costs. Of course, why was it so easy to learn profound meanings in the Inferno? What was the secret here? These questions were lingering in everyone's mind. Even with Lu Ling's explanation, it was not enough to solve everyone's doubts. Why were the laws in heaven and earth so clear? What was the Inferno? This was a question worth digging into. If they could find out the secret, then maybe more people could learn profound meanings. Yicha brought back a piece of information that made many people ponder. Yicha got a fruit, a common one. It could be found at the Central Plains, the Northern Desert, and the Clouds Plains. It was called Fire Cloud fruit. It was hard for this fruit to grow. It would take 1,000 years for the fruit to grow. Even then, the fruit would only be the size of half a palm. However, the fire cloud fruit brought back by Yi Cha was the size of a human body. It must have been growing for at least 100,000 years. 100,000 years ago, in the era of humans, was the medieval times. Back then, the Cyan Phoenix race and the Mammoth race were still at the southwest of the Central Plains, and they were famous. In addition to the two races, many other ancient races were also powerful. Humans were the overlord of the Central Plains, but they had not completely taken over the entire Central Plains. This was just an average fruit. It was a fruit that grew in an ordinary place. If Yi Jie didn't think it looked like a fire cloud fruit, she would have picked it. If it grew in a dangerous place, in a very hidden place, in a spirit fruit or spirit tree, could it survive for so many years? 50 years? 1,000,000 years? The history of the Heaven Reverse universe was only 1,000,000 years old. How could the Inferno exist for 1,000,000 years? This was too unbelievable. All small worlds did not exist for a long time. The first small world, discovered by the Central State, only had a history of a few 100,000 years. Furthermore, after deducing that the Inferno prison had a history of at least 1,000,000 years, no one felt that it was strange. That was because the aura of the Inferno prison made them feel that it was extremely ancient. Even if someone said that the Inferno prison had existed for tens of millions of years, no one would feel that it was wrong. Was it because the Inferno prison had existed for a long time and was an ancient world where people could understand power Upanishads more easily? Someone raised such a question, and it received the approval of many people. However, there was no direct evidence, so no one could confirm this matter. The fire leopards continued to kill. Yi Cha had already detected that there were two beast kings among the fire leopards. He did not dare to draw them over. Kumang's ancient formation had not been built yet. If he drew the Beast Kings over now, it could cause great casualties even though there were 6 human sovereign realm warriors here. Kumang had been building formations many times with others, but they all failed. He had never succeeded in building those formations before. He was still at the stage of exploring. Lu Ling didn't blame him. Instead, she prepared enough materials for him to squander. It didn't matter, even if the formation was unsuccessful. Lu Li focused on killing the fire leopards and studying the soul-shattering skill. He forgot to eat and sleep for a month. But he made no progress. God of Meng's guidance was too difficult. Not only did he have to learn Upanishads, he also had to figure out a direction to learn profound meanings. One day, Mingyu suddenly retreated in the middle of a fierce fight. This almost messed up the formation. Zi Huanyu and the others were trapped. Fortunately, a patriarch of the Cyan Phoenix race came to take his place and fend off the fire leopards. They didn't blame Mingyu at all. Instead, they looked at him with pleasant surprise. When they saw that Mingyu had retreated to the huge cave in the valley, they were all delighted. Mingyu must have understood something. Otherwise, he wouldn't have left so suddenly without saying anything. Mingyu had learned a second-rank profound meaning, force. If he could learn another profound meaning this time, he would have 2 profound meanings. Bai Lung and the others were envious and jealous. Zi Huanxiao's eyes were red with envy. Zi Huanxiao had tried to reach the human sovereign realm 3 times and failed all 3 times. He had wasted a lot of mystical materials. Why? It was because the profound meaning Zi Huanxiao learned was too low, only of the 4th rank. Zi Huanxiao believed that if he could learn a 5th or 6th rank profound meaning, it would be much easier for him to reach the human sovereign realm. Lu Li was not in need of mystical materials. As long as you could make a breakthrough in his profound meaning, it was highly possible that he could reach the human sovereign realm in the future. Lu Ling nodded to Mingyu as he entered the valley. She had been cultivating here and keeping an eye on the overall situation. She wasn't used to fighting directly, even though she was not weak. She preferred to stay in the back, taking control of the situation and devising strategies. Maybe this was a common habit of smart people. Smart people didn't like to stand under a collapsing wall. They wanted to keep themselves safe at all times. Someone sent a message to my brother. Tell him to come back and rest. Lu Ling looked at Lu Li, who was still fighting against the fire leopards in the distance. She frowned and waved to a noble Lord Realm warrior behind her. That person flew out and found Lu Li. He woke Lu Li up and told him what Lu Ling said. Lu Li thought about it and realized that he hadn't rested for a few days. He hadn't made any progress, so he turned around and flew back into the valley. When he returned to the canyon, he immediately saw Mingyu. He was startled at first, but then he asked with great joy, "Mingyu, did you comprehend something?" Lu Li had told her about Mingyu, so she knew the relationship between Mingyu and Lu Li. She nodded and said, "I just had an epiphany. I just don't know what rank of profound meaning I have learned. It all depends on one's luck. Before one comprehends it, no one knows what grade the profound meaning is." Not bad. Lu Li nodded with satisfaction. He was happier than if he had made a breakthrough himself. Mingyu was Lu Li's most loyal subordinate. Lu Li was glad that Mingyu could become stronger. "Sis, is everything okay at the northern desert and the Clouds Plains?" Lu Li didn't ask about what was going on outside for the past month. Now that he was resting, he had to ask. Lu Ling thought about it and said with a frown, "Big families of the Central Plains don't have the courage to make trouble at the northern desert. They will send some scouts at best. The northern desert is fine, but there is some trouble at the Clouds Plains. Two forces at the Serenity Plains seem to be itching to invade the Clouds Plains. If I'm not mistaken, it might be the Samsara Palace, who is playing tricks behind the scenes." Lu Li pulled a long face. His eyes flickered as if he was thinking about something. Chapter 605. The 12 royal families had an agreement that they could not invade the other 8 plains. It was possible that the demon-slaying hall was restraining the 12 forces in secret. After all, if the entire Great Land was under the control of the 12 royal families, it would be hard for other forces to emerge. Many ambitious people would feel that they could not make a name for themselves, and they would lose the motivation to fight. The fact that the 12 royal families could not openly attack the other 8 plains didn't mean that the 8 plains could not fight against each other. Once in history, there was a family that unified 3 plains. Eventually, the family expanded and entered the Central Plains, becoming one of the overlords of the Central Plains. That force was called the Pavilion of Blossoms. Therefore, it was not surprising that the forces of the Serenity Plains wanted to invade the Clouds Plains. No one could say anything. Not even the great powers of the Central Plains could interfere. Lu Li thought about it with a frown and asked, "What is the situation at the Serenity Plains?" Lu Ling had already sent someone to collect the information. She answered casually, "The Serenity Plains is about the same size as the Clouds Plains. 4 forces have occupied the Serenity Plains. The 4 forces have been in control of the Serenity Plains for thousands of years. They are powerful, and each force has 2 or 3 human sovereign realm warriors. The 4 forces keep each other in check. If there are external enemies, they will work together to fight back. The 4 forces work in pairs, so none of them can take over the other. The situation is better now. The 2 forces at the north seem to have been bought over by the Samsara Palace, and they want to invade the Clouds Plains. But I don't think the 2 forces at the south have agreed. Therefore, the 2 forces at the north are afraid that if they fail to invade the Clouds Plains and lose their territories, they are hesitating. According to the information I received, the Samsara Palace is buying over the 2 forces at the south. If the 4 forces at the Serenity Plains are all bought over, then the Serenity Plains army will invade the Clouds Plains. The 2 forces at the south have secret connections with the Tumulus of Universe. Are you close to the Yi family of the Tumulus of Universe? Otherwise, I think you would have been bought over and attacked the Clouds Plains a long time ago." Yi Luo. Lu Li remembered that elegant young master. He nodded and said, "Yi Luo is a nice guy. We used to be comrades, and we fought against alien races together. Don't worry about that." Lu Ling waved her hand and said, "I have sent many scouts to the Serenity Plains, and they have bribed some warriors of the 4 forces. We will talk about it when the time comes. I will arrange something secretly. Perhaps the army of Yuzhou Province will not invade Yinzhou Province." Even if they invade Yinzhou province, it's hard to say who will be the winner. Lu Ling was proud. Lu Li nodded to himself. He got up and went to the base camp to find a tent to rest. Entering the valley, Lu Li noticed that the base camp was much larger than before. There are thousands of tents here. All the young masters and young ladies were cultivating in seclusion. Scanning with his psychic power, he found many of them were disciples of the northern desert. Over the past month, Lu Li had only rested at the entrance of the valley for a couple of times. Not once had he entered the base camp. Naturally, he was surprised to see this. Bai Xiaoshuang. Lu Li saw Bai Xiaoshuang in a tent as well. Lu Li forced a smile. They must have known that this was a good place, so they had come in to cultivate. Forget it. I'll go back to the Sky Dragon Snow Mountain. There was a teleportation formation, and Bai Xiaoshuang was not on the mountain. Lu Li was afraid that Bai Qiushue would be lonely, so he planned to go back and rest for a couple of days so that he could keep her company. Squeak, squeak from a tent, Little White flew out. Lu Li didn't take Little White with him when he fought. He didn't let Little White fight either, fearing that it might be hurt. Little White was sleeping in the tent. Little White, let's go out. Lu Li waved to Little White and took it out of the deserted world to the Sky Dragon Snow Mountain. Lu Li had a noble Lord Realm patriarch of the Mammoth race guarding the Snow Mountain. The Hag race sent over tens of thousands of warriors to surround the Snow Mountain. Lu Li was afraid that someone might hurt Bai Qiushue. Lu Li told Little White to go play by itself. He checked on Bai Qiushue and had a good sleep. When he woke up, he stayed in the ice room to keep her company. After resting for a couple of days, Lu Li left the area of demons to make some arrangements. He asked Yuhuashan to stay here all year round. Without his order, nobody was allowed to enter the small world. Anyone that dared to force their way in would be killed. If someone could not be killed or something was wrong, Lu Li should crush a jade talisman to let him know at once. Back at the deserted world, Lu Li brought Little White back to the inferno to hunt fire leopards. Lu Li wanted Little White to rest in the tent, but it was bored and Lu Li forbade it to fight. Little White took out the ding of Barbarian God and flew into it to refine its body with thunderbolts. The base camp was filled with Lu Li and Lu Ling's people. Lu Li and Lu Ling didn't plan to let those in the inferno out so soon. Therefore, Lu Li was not worried about Little White. Many talented disciples nearby were curious, but Lu Li didn't mind. He told someone to tell nobody to get close to the ding of Barbarian God and went to hunt fire leopards by himself. Mingyu was still in cultivation, and Kumang's ancient formation was not ready yet. For 10,000 years, nobody of the Shadowland race could build such a formation. It was understandable that Kumang could not finish it in a short time. Yicha was in charge of luring the fire leopards away. If too many fire leopards were killed, the king of fire leopards might be alerted. Therefore, they must be more careful. Apart from Tu Hen, the sixth brother of the Tu family, the other human sovereign realm warriors didn't do anything. They would only go to help out when the situation was critical. For the rest of the time, they would sit in the illusion and study the laws in heaven and earth. It had been more than a month, but the 5 human sovereign realm warriors hadn't learned anything. They were disappointed, but they worked harder. A fight of this level could no longer stimulate their potential. Therefore, they had to sit in meditation and study the laws in heaven. Time moved on. 6 days later, Lu Li was woken up from his meditation by a cheer. He looked back in confusion. Many people were looking at Mingyu at the entrance of the valley. Lu Li's eyes glowed, and he flew over. "What did you learn?" Lu Li shouted from the distance. Mingyu grinned. He waved his hand and poured out some Xian energy. The space in front of him was frozen. The fire leopards were all sealed in the air as if they were frozen. Ow! Lu Li was shocked. This profound meaning was not of a low level. It could even seal the ferocious fire leopards. The power of space freezing must be strong. The other human sovereign realm warriors opened their eyes. Chu Qing nodded and said, 7th rank profound meaning, space sealing good. State Counselor, I suggest that he stop wasting time here and go back to closed-door cultivation. With enough mystical materials, it is very likely that he can reach the human sovereign realm. Also, space profound meaning is hard to come by. In the future, he will be very powerful. Seventh rank, profound meaning. Lu Li's smile grew wider. Mingyu was his most loyal subordinate. When Mingyu grew stronger, Lu Li would grow stronger. Lu Li was happy for Mingyu since they were on the same side. Mingyu, go to the base camp. Lu Li ordered Mingyu to go back to the base camp. He had plenty of mystical materials. As long as Mingyu could keep making breakthroughs, he could provide Mingyu with endless mystical materials. Young Master. Chapter 606. Upgrading from a beginner profound meaning to an advanced one. Mingyu went back to the base camp to cultivate while Lu Li was still thinking about it. As far as he knew, a profound meaning was a profound meaning and its power would be fixed after it was mastered. But Lu Li didn't know that profound meanings could be upgraded. This opened a new window for Lu Li. So, both the mirror image profound meaning and speed profound meaning could be upgraded. Mingyu's understanding of profound meanings was still low. Lu Li couldn't figure it out, so he went to Chu Cheng and Hu Lang to ask. Buzzing. Hearing Lu Li's question, Hu Lang waved his hand. A transparent shield came out and enveloped Lu Li and the human sovereign realm warriors, cutting off any sound. Hu Lang said, State Counselor, we will not tell you about profound meanings until you reach the human sovereign realm. If you can't reach the human sovereign realm, you will never become a real, powerful warrior. It is pointless to know too much. The other human sovereign realm warriors nodded. Hu Lang continued, State Counselor, since you have asked, I will give you a brief explanation. Profound meanings are the embodiment of laws in heaven and earth. There are 9 ranks. The higher the rank of the profound meaning, the more profound the understanding of laws in heaven and earth. Beginner profound meanings are merely the surface of laws in heaven and earth. Naturally, their powers are limited. Advanced profound meanings require a deeper understanding of laws in heaven and earth. One can borrow more power from heaven and earth, and the more powerful they are. Since they are all about understanding laws in heaven and earth, there are similarities between beginner profound meanings and advanced profound meanings. As a matter of fact, many beginner profound meanings can be upgraded to advanced profound meanings. In order to learn advanced profound meanings, one must learn beginner profound meanings first. Some advanced profound meanings can have an epiphany directly, but some must be learned by combining the beginner profound meanings. For example, the 7th rank spatial sealing profound meaning your guy learned must first learn force before he can have a chance to learn spatial sealing. For example, the armor of earth that your grandfather comprehended is a powerful grade 8 defensive ultimacy. However, he didn't comprehend this ultimacy directly. Instead, he comprehended 2 grade 6 ultimacies and then fused them. After Hu Lang's explanation, Lu Li had a basic understanding of profound meanings. He pondered for a while to digest the information. Whoosh, Lu Li was about to ask more questions when he heard a noise from the distance. Yi Cha's voice came, Everyone, retreat to the valley. A fire leopard king is alarmed. Now, retreat. Lu Li came back to his senses. He flew up and shouted. The fire leopard king was comparable to a human sovereign realm warrior. Average noble lord realm warriors would die in a fight against it. Whoosh, whoosh, Hu Lang and the others leaped into the air and stood in a fan formation, waiting for the fire leopard king to appear. Retreat. Kamang waved his hand regretfully. The primordial divine formation hadn't been set up yet. These divine formations had been set up to deal with the fire leopard king. So many resources had been wasted, but nothing had been accomplished. The more than 1,000 warriors filed into the valley. Lu Ling asked some powerful noble lord realm warriors to stay at the entrance while the others went to the base camp. At the same time, he ordered everyone in the base camp to stop cultivating and get ready to retreat to the deserted world. Roar! An earth-shaking roar came from afar. At the other end of the plain, a gigantic fire leopard was rushing over along with a group of fire leopards. The fire leopard king was much larger than the average fire leopards. When its vertical eye opened and closed, there was a faint glow of fire. The beast might was so horrifying that Lu Li could feel it from afar. suffocating him. Saint Lord, go back to the valley and leave the fire leopard king to us. God of Meng turned to Lu Li, who nodded and said, "One fire leopard king and 6 of us at the human sovereign realm should be fine. State Counselor, go back. Be careful." Lu Li nodded. He didn't force himself. He couldn't deal with a beast king that was at the human sovereign realm. He would only be a burden if he stayed. Lu Li went back to the valley and stood next to Lu Ling. He gazed at the fire leopard king through the formation at the entrance of the valley. Roar! Another deafening roar rang out as the fire leopard king shot over like a red meteor. Its speed was simply too fast. If Lu Li didn't use his psychic power, he wouldn't be able to see the fire leopard king clearly. The fire leopard king was surrounded by a red airstream, especially its 4 hooves. It was as if the fire leopard king was walking on red clouds. Every time its hooves touched the ground, the earth would shake and the stones would crack. Every time it leaped, it could fly up to more than 1,000 feet and change directions in midair. It was horrifying. Hoi! God of Meng's body glowed in a dark golden color. Dark golden scales appeared on his exposed skin. He stomped his knees on the ground, and his entire body shot out like a giant beast towards the fire leopard king. A small shield appeared in his right hand and a huge saber in his left hand. Without hesitation, he stood in front of the fire leopard king. Phew, the fire leopard king breathed out a mouthful of red airstream. The energy in heaven and earth around them began to move. Lu Li sensed with psychic power that an unknown force was gathering toward God of Meng from all sides. God of Meng swung his saber, but he couldn't swing it down. Swish! The fire leopard king reached at God of Meng's chest in a flash. An armor appeared over God of Meng's body, but it was crushed in an instant. The bone spur on the head of the fire leopard stabbed at God of Meng's chest. The bone spur pierced through God of Meng's armor easily. Sparks came out, and the spur eventually pierced into God of Meng's chest. Poof! God of Meng was smashed away together with the fire leopard king. He spat out blood in midair, and his face turned pale. God of Meng was hurt by the fire leopard king in one move. Even though the bone spur didn't pierce through God of Meng's heart, it was enough for him to suffer. Hoi! The other human sovereign realm warriors made their moves. If the fire leopard king could defeat them one by one, they would have to stay here forever. Chu Chang generated dragons of fire to entangle the fire leopard king. He had learned a profound meaning related to fire. Not only could his dragons of fire burn, but they could also entangle enemies and slow them down. Once the fire leopard king was entangled by his dragons of fire, its speed would be reduced, and it would become a live target. Boy, Ghost Claw of the Void. The sect leader of the Heavenly Lotus Society struck out a huge blue ghostly claw that descended from the sky. His goal was to restrain the fire leopard king and restrict its movements and attacks. Whoosh, however, the fire leopard king was too fast. It smacked God of Meng away with its other claw. With a flash of red clouds, the fire leopard king dashed to the side and dashed toward Master of Palace of Black Moon. Master of Palace of Black Moon. Heine's neck glowed in purple, and a huge shadow of a purple beast came into being. The shadow dashed toward the fire leopard king like a flash of lightning. The shadow and the real one collided, but there was no explosion. The shadow of the purple beast had entangled the fire leopard king, which slowed it down. Roar, roar, the fire leopard king howled. It breathed out streams of air in the shape of flames that surrounded it. Heine's shadow of the purple beast became weaker. His energy was running out. Okay, in a fight between powerful warriors, 1 second was enough to decide the outcome. Heine's bloodline skill had stopped the fire leopard king. Now it was their turn to fight back. Charge! God of Meng was hurt. The violence in him was triggered. Regardless of the blood gushing out from his chest, God of Meng sprang up from the ground, swung his huge saber with black air flowing around it, and hacked at the fire leopard king. Do it! Kill this beast! Chapter 607. Bang, bang, bang. The attacks of the 6 human sovereign realm warriors landed on the fire leopard king almost at the same time. What shocked Lu Li and the others was that the Fire Leopard King was smashed away and a pit appeared on the ground. But soon, it flew back up and it didn't seem to be harmed. God of Meng and the others were surprised. They knew the Fire Leopard King's defense would be strong, but they didn't expect it to be this strong. 6 human sovereign realm warriors. Even average warriors at the later stage of the human sovereign realm would have died if their defense was not strong enough. The 6 human sovereign realm warriors each had their own unique skills. Some had powerful bloodline skills, and some had powerful profound meanings. Human sovereign realm warriors' attacks were not as strong as average ones. They could crack open mountains in an instant. The Fire Leopard King was not harmed at all. Go on. Don't just stand there. Hu Lang, master of the Silver Wolf Mountain, shouted. Chu Chung and He and I made their moves at once. Master of the Lotus Society released another ghost claw. Bang, 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 their attacks caused the void to tremble. Wind howled and thunder roared. Shockwaves spread to all directions. Even at the entrance of the valley that was thousands of feet away from the battlefield, people could feel it clearly. Many noble Lord Realm warriors held their breaths, not daring to breathe. Many used psychic power to lock on the human sovereign realm warriors' attacks. The average Fire Leopard King was too weak for the human sovereign realm warriors to use their full strength. They didn't even use bloodline skills or profound meanings. They were trying their best to deal with the Fire Leopard King. How could they miss such a rare chance? Boom, boom, boom. Lu Li paid special attention to Tu Hen, brother 6 of the Tu family. He didn't have any weapon, and he only used his hands. Inside those hands, there was a golden glare and a dark cyan glow. Every time he made a move, space would tremble violently. Wherever his palm passed, the surrounding space would tremble violently, causing ripples that spread out in all directions like ripples on water. It was extremely obvious. The ripples reminded Lu Li of the water ripples he saw when he was learning the soul-shattering skill. His soul-shattering vibration wave was inspired by the water ripples. At this moment, the spatial shock waves caused by these giant palms inexplicably moved him. But, for a moment, Lu Li could not connect the dots. It was a blur, faintly discernible, and he could not grasp the essence. Therefore, his eyes became misty and he was lost in thought. The Fire Leopard King was very strong. However, there were 6 human sovereign realm cultivators on this side, and the attacks of 3 human sovereign realm cultivators had some restraining effect. No matter who struck the Fire Leopard King, its speed would decrease, and the others would be able to follow up with their attacks, sending the Fire Leopard King flying again and again. Boom! The hollow ghost claw of the Heavenly Lotus Cult's sect leader missed and smashed into the ground below, causing the ground to shake violently. A bottomless pit appeared on the ground where it was struck. Dust flew everywhere, causing the group of cultivators in the canyon to be shocked. Be careful, don't destroy the illusion at the canyon entrance. Lu Ling shouted. Kumang and the others hurried to stabilize the illusion. There were many fire leopards outside. The most important thing was the Fire Leopard King. Once the illusionary realm was broken, the Fire Leopard King would rush in. Only a few of them would be able to make it back to the deserted world alive. Vibration, vibration, vibration. Lu Li stood at the entrance of the valley, right next to Lu Ling. He kept murmuring. Lu Ling looked at him and saw that he seemed to have understood something. She told the others not to disturb Lu Li. A fight between powerful warriors could inspire warriors greatly. If Lu Li could learn something from this fight, it would be the best. Boom, 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 the fight was still going on. The 6 human sovereign realm cultivators were cooperating better. God of Meng wouldn't be hurt by the Fire Leopard King in one move anymore. Finally, the Fire Leopard King was getting hurt. There was no blood, but there were cracks on its body, and it was slowing down. The 6 human sovereign realm cultivators were getting more and more excited. The bone spurs on the head of the Fire Leopard King could be used as a holy grade Xian artifact. The sharpness and toughness of the spurs were no different from a holy grade Xian artifact. It was horrifying enough that it could pierce through God of Meng's body. That being said, it would take time to kill the Fire Leopard King. Judging by the current progress, it would take at least an hour. The 6 human sovereign realm cultivators were not in a hurry. The Fire Leopard King's defense was so strong that it would be difficult for them to kill it at once. After all, the Fire Leopards down there posed no threat to them. They could slowly grind the Fire Leopard King to death. Vibrations, vibrations, vibrations. Luli was still murmuring. He was touched, but he couldn't quite grasp the key point. He felt there was a path leading to the sky in front of him, but it was blocked by a paper window. If he couldn't break through the paper window, he would never be able to step into that path. Time moved on. After the time for 3 incense sticks to burn, the wounds on the Fire Leopard King were increasing and it was slowing down. At the moment, it was several times slower than before. It was only a few times faster than average fire leopards. Everyone was relieved. After this Fire Leopard King was killed, there would only be one left. It was only a matter of time before they killed it. As long as they could kill the 2 Fire Leopard Kings, they could collect the mystical materials nearby. The mystical materials in an area with a radius of tens of millions of miles would be a fortune. Lu Ling suddenly noticed that Luli had sat down with his legs crossed. She was delighted. She looked at the Fire Leopard King in a gentler way. Luli had been cultivating here for more than a month. He had been killing fire leopards day and night and studying. Today, with the arrival of the Fire Leopard King, he finally made some progress. Even though she didn't know what Luli had learned, it was good enough that he could. To Lu Ling, Luli was the smartest kid, a genius. She had high hopes for Luli. Over the past month, so many people had made breakthroughs, but Luli hadn't. Naturally, she was disappointed. The fight was still going on outside, but Lu Ling didn't care. It was only a matter of time before the Fire Leopard King was killed. All she cared about now was Luli. She asked a group of warriors at the peak of the Noble Lord realm to surround Luli. She would kill anyone that dared to disturb Luli's cultivation. Roar! After the time for 1 incense stick to burn, the Fire Leopard King let out another shrill howl that shook heaven and earth. It was like a desperate howl before death. Lu Ling frowned and looked at Luli. She was relieved to see that he didn't wake up. Oh no! Beside him, Yi Jie's expression changed slightly, and he rushed out of the canyon like a ghost. He looked into the distance and shouted, "Oh no! The other Fire Leopard King is alerted and it is coming over." Lu Ling and the others were shocked. She reacted quickly and shouted at once, "Yi Cha, try to distract that Fire Leopard King. Try to buy as much time as you can." The Fire Leopard King was covered in wounds, and it looked like it could be killed at any time. That being said, Lu Ling knew that the Fire Leopard King's defense was too strong. It would take her the time for 1 or 2 incense sticks to burn to kill it. If the other Fire Leopard King came, the situation would be out of control. Once the formation of the 6 human sovereign realm warriors was disrupted and the 2 Fire Leopard Kings attacked together, 1 or 2 human sovereign realm warriors could fall. In the end, many more would die as well. Okay, Yi Cha made up his mind. He was ready to risk his life. He flew away like a breeze and said, "Kill the Fire Leopard King as soon as possible. I think we can only buy them the time for half an incense stick to burn. P.S. It has been 4 chapters in a row. How much do I owe you? Do a calculation, and I will make up for it if it is not enough." Chapter 608. Even the time for half an incense stick to burn was difficult for Yi Cha. He was as fast as a warrior at the middle stage of the human sovereign realm, but the Fire Leopard King was not slow either. More importantly, he was surrounded by fire leopards, which made it difficult for him to walk. He had to risk his life to stay alive for the time for half an incense stick to burn. If he was unlucky, he could die in the time for half an incense stick to burn. "Come on," Hu Lang yelled. They had to kill the Fire Leopard King in the time for half an incense stick to burn, or they would all be in trouble. They tried their best to kill the Fire Leopard King as soon as possible. However, what frustrated them all happened. The Fire Leopard King didn't come out after it was smashed into the ground. Instead, it used its claws to escape underground. It didn't go far. It was hiding underground, ready to jump out at any time. This Fire Leopard King is very intelligent. They complained to themselves. The higher the rank of a Xian beast, the more intelligent it would be. This fire leopard king did not look like a Xian beast, but it was alive and had a soul. It was understandable that it knew how to seek fortune and avoid danger. This was a headache. The fire leopard king was too fast. They would not be able to catch up with it underground. If they gave up on the fire leopard king to attack another fire leopard king, the fire leopard king would come out again. Boom, boom, boom. The 6 human sovereign realm warriors bombarded the ground, leaving cracks all over the ground. Hu Lang even rushed underground, trying to hunt down the fire leopard king. Unfortunately, the fire leopard king was too nimble underground. Hu Lang alone was not enough to kill it. After chasing it for a while, Hu Lang could only fly up angrily. Hu Lang loosened the reins only to grasp them better. Lu Ling thought quickly. She shouted when she saw Hu Lang coming out from underground. Hu Lang and the other human sovereign realm warriors looked at each other and flew toward where Yi Cha went. She was right. As soon as they left, the ground cracked open. A red shadow flew out. The fire leopard king had fallen for the trap and went after the human sovereign realm warriors. Whoosh! A blue ghost claw came down from the sky and reached toward the fire leopard king. If the fire leopard king were not injured, it would have been able to dodge. However, it was slowed down and was caught by the ghost claw. The other 5 human sovereign realm warriors retreated and used their strongest moves, trying to kill the fire leopard king in one move. Boom! The fire leopard king was heavily smashed into the air, and it tumbled a distance of 3,000 meters before it lay on the ground, on the verge of death. One of its legs was broken, and it was obviously heavily injured. Whoosh! When the fire leopard king saw the human sovereign realm experts flying towards it, it quickly dug the ground with its 2 front paws and burrowed into the ground. It knew that if it didn't escape now, it would definitely be killed later. I can't hold on any longer. A loud shout came from afar. It was Yi Jie's bitter cry. A red light was hot on his tail. Yi Cha could only change his route continuously. His speed was at the limit, but the fire leopard king was still closing the distance between them. Yi Jie's old face was covered in blood, and the armor on his back had cracked layer by layer. His badly mutilated body was clearly injured. He had only lasted for less than half an incense stick of time. Seeing the horde of fire leopards behind the fire leopard king, everyone knew that Yi Shi was in trouble. It would be better if Yi Cha were at the human sovereign realm or the peak of the noble lord realm. It was not easy for a warrior at the later stage of the noble lord realm to stay alive for such a long time and not be torn apart by the fire leopard king. This fire leopard king seemed to be stronger and faster. The human sovereign realm experts looked at each other. They made up their minds and pressed on. If they couldn't kill the 2 fire leopard kings, they would not be able to take down this area. They would not be able to collect countless resources, and they would not be able to conquer other areas. The Inferno was a land of treasures. Just the fact that it was easier to learn profound meanings here was worth risking their lives, not to mention the mystical materials. Apart from God of Meng, none of the 6 human sovereign realm warriors were injured. God of Meng had taken some healing pellets, and his healing ability was amazing. He was fine now. Therefore, there was no reason for them to retreat. They were ready to fight to the death. As for the fire leopard king that had fled underground, they didn't care anymore. One of its legs was broken. What else could the fire leopard king do? It couldn't recover in a short time. They just had to be careful not to be ambushed. Formation, Hu Lang shouted. The 6 of them flew forward in a fan shape. When Yi Cha passed by them, they made their moves. God of Meng went up again to buy time for the others to target the fire leopard king. Phew, phew, this fire leopard king breathed out a red stream of air as well. God of Meng was frozen in midair. The spike on the head of the fire leopard king stabbed at God of Meng's chest. In the past, God of Meng would have been hurt again. But this time was different. The 6 human sovereign realm warriors had been fighting together for a long time, and they had developed a tacit understanding. The moment God of Meng rushed up, they made their moves at the same time. They controlled the fire leopard king's speed. Hu Lang swung his axe and smashed the fire leopard king away. Boom! In the distance, a huge hole was blasted open in a huge mountain. Mountain rocks tumbled down, and rumbling sounds rang out incessantly. Dust filled the air, and the earth quaked and the mountains shook. Okay, they looked at each other and breathed in relief. The six of them worked well together. They could wear out the Fire Leopard King easily. When the two Fire Leopard Kings were dead, the low-level Fire Leopards down, there would be nothing to worry about. They would be able to take over this area easily. Bang! The Fire Leopard King that was smashed into the mountain flew out. The six human sovereign realm warriors went up to it. God of Meng was to attract the attention of the Fire Leopard King, and the others worked together. Whoosh! Yicha dashed toward the entrance of the valley. He was seriously injured and needed treatment. Since there were fire leopards outside, he didn't dare to linger. Bang! He released his golden claws and smashed away the fire leopards at the entrance. Then, he dashed forward like a sharp sword. Wait! Right at that moment, the master of the Lotus Society suddenly shouted. He looked at the ground behind Yicha and shouted, "Yicha, don't go in!" Yicha was surprised. He didn't understand why the master of the Lotus Society said that. He was hesitating, so he didn't stop. Dragged by inertia, he dashed into the valley. Retreat! Saintess, retreat! Saint Lord, run! Several shouts were heard. Hu Lang, the master of the Lotus Society, and God of Meng shouted at the same time. Yicha finally understood why they told him not to go in. A dark shadow was dashing toward the valley. It was the badly injured Fire Leopard King. A badly injured Fire Leopard King was still a Fire Leopard King. The Fire Leopard King's defense and offense were horrifying. Average Noble Lord Realm warriors would die in one move. Only someone as fast as Yicha could have a chance to run away. If Yicha had gone back to the valley before, it wouldn't have been a problem. But now, he had made a huge mistake. There was a badly injured Fire Leopard King underground. This Fire Leopard King was intelligent, and it had been trying to sense what was going on above. Yicha ran all the way back, and he was at the Noble Lord realm. Naturally, the Fire Leopard King wanted to vent its anger on Yicha. Yicha's entry into the valley had attracted the Fire Leopard King's attention. Entering the valley from above would have been blocked by the ancient formation, and Yicha would have to go around at the entrance of the valley. But the Fire Leopard King was underground, and it wasn't affected by the illusion. The Fire Leopard King had locked onto Yicha and followed him all the way. It could rush into the valley from underground. Everyone, go back to the deserted world. For the first time, Lu Ling showed signs of surprise. But she didn't panic. She grabbed Lu Li's arm, took out her bead of life, and flew up. While flying toward the valley, she shouted, "Tu Hong, the 30 of you must stop the Fire Leopard King, even if you have to die. The rest of you, retreat to the deserted world now." Chapter 609. Lu Ling had always been decisive when it came to killing. Compared to Lu Li, she was more cold-blooded and heartless. For the sake of the bigger picture, she could send a group of warriors to their deaths without any hesitation. Run! There were nearly 1,000 warriors in the valley. Lu Ling asked many to go back to the base camp to rest. But how could they miss a fight between a human sovereign realm warrior and a Fire Leopard King? Many people crowded in the valley to watch the fight. At the moment, everyone's psychic power was focused on the Fire Leopard King rushing over. They were frightened, and they all rushed back to the base camp. Due to the large number of warriors and the narrow valley, chaos was inevitable. Formation. A patriarch at the peak of the Noble Lord realm of the Tu family shouted. He came with 40 Noble Lord realm warriors of the Tu family, patriarchs whose souls were controlled by Lu Ling. Under Lu Ling's order, they had no other choice. They all unsheathed their weapons and stood at the entrance of the valley. Their armors glowed, Xian energy was mobilized, and their bead of life appeared. They released their bloodline as soon as it was awakened. Bang! The ground cracked. Mud and stones flew around. A red shadow flew out. Tu Hong bellowed, "Attack!" The 40 warriors landed their attacks on the Fire Leopard King. What made them despair was the mud and stones around the Fire Leopard King cracked, and a huge pit appeared. But the Fire Leopard King only trembled slightly. Nothing happened to it. It fended off all the attacks. The Fire Leopard King's defense was too strong. It was like a group of kids stabbing a crocodile with wooden swords. Could they do any harm to the crocodile? Ridiculous. Whoosh! The Fire Leopard King lost one of its legs. It kicked on the ground with its other 3 legs and dashed away in a blur. In an instant, it reached Tu Hong and smashed at his head with its huge paw. Crack! Tu Hong's head cracked like a watermelon. He didn't even have the time to react before he died. The Fire Leopard King was so fast that noble Lord Realm warriors could not withstand a single blow. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The Fire Leopard King didn't stop for even a moment. It kept moving around, and there were miserable cries. One warrior after another was smashed away, and all of them died. In the time for just one breath, 10 were killed. Noble Lord Realm warriors cannot stop it. The noble Lord Realm warriors that were retreating to the base camp in the chaos were terrified. They had thought that a severely injured Fire Leopard King could not be very powerful. The 40 noble Lord Realm warriors should be able to stop the Fire Leopard King for a while, let alone kill it. Roar! From outside the valley came a loud roar. Some noble Lord Realm warriors checked with psychic power and found that the Fire Leopard King had gone mad. The frenzied attacks on the 6 Renhuangs caused the 6 Renhuangs to suffer unspeakably. It's over. Many people's hearts sank. The 2 Fire Leopard Kings were very intelligent, and the one outside knew how to cooperate with the Fire Leopard King. If any Renhuang dared to come to the rescue, the formation of the Renhuang outside would be disrupted. Once the rhythm was controlled by the Fire Leopard King, the 6 human sovereigns outside might all die. Human sovereign realm warriors could not help. The noble Lord Realm warriors in the valley could not stop the Fire Leopard King. However, the base camp was in chaos. A group of talented disciples blocked the passage and looked at the canyon curiously. None of them retreated to the deserted world. Idiot. Lu Ling flew into a rage when she checked with psychic power. She used Xian energy to amplify her voice and shouted, "Retreat to the deserted world, or you'll get us all killed. Retreat now." Lu Ling's voice was loud, resounding in the valley and the valley. Only then did the talented disciples rush into the deserted world. The passage was small, and there were more than 1,000 talented disciples. By the time they entered the deserted world, the more than 1,000 noble Lord Realm warriors would all be killed by the Fire Leopard King. Whoosh! Mingyu flew over from the base camp. Little White flew out from the ding of Barbarian God, put away the ding of Barbarian God, and dashed to the valley. Mingyu and Little White were alarmed by Lu Ling's voice. They wanted to help at once. Lu Li had been cultivating. He woke up at this moment as well. He looked around with a grave expression on his face. He took out the divine weapon of Dragon King and the fate wheel under his feet. He said to Lu Ling, "Sis, go back with the others. I will hold them off." "Fool!" Lu Ling glared at him coldly and shouted, "This is not the time to play the hero. You will only get yourself killed. Go back to the deserted world." Buzzing, Lu Li had always been obedient to Lu Ling, but this time he didn't. He released more than 60 clones and controlled them to rush toward the Fire Leopard King. Lu Ling frowned. She didn't know which one was Lu Li's real body. She didn't say anything after a moment of hesitation. She looked at the clones flying toward the Fire Leopard King with a frown. Tu Hong and the other 40 noble Lord Realm warriors had all died. It had only been the time for a few breaths. The Fire Leopard King was ferocious. The Fire Leopard King was confused to see so many Lu Li flying over. But it didn't stop. It dashed around in the valley and smashed the clones one by one with its sharp claws. Nice! Lu Li and Lu Ling cheered to themselves. The Fire Leopard King didn't see through Lu Li's real body. Maybe the Fire Leopard King's soul was not strong enough or was not intelligent enough. It could also be that the Fire Leopard King was badly injured. Either way, it was good news. Swish, swish, Lu Li kept sending out clones. He controlled them to fly toward the Fire Leopard King so that the Fire Leopard King could focus on the clones and the noble Lord Realm warriors and the other talented disciples. "Sis," Lu Li looked back to Lu Ling and said, "Leave now. The Fire Leopard King cannot see through my real body." It will be fine if we are not careful. Lu Ling didn't leave. She stood behind Lu Li stubbornly. Lu Li was Lu Ling's everything. How could she leave him here alone? Whoosh! Ming Yu and Little White rushed over. Little White found Lu Li's real body and landed on Lu Li's shoulder. Lu Li had an idea when he saw Little White. Could he put the Fire Leopard King in the Ding of Barbarian God? As long as he could put the Fire Leopard King in the Ding of Barbarian God, he could kill the Fire Leopard King with thunderbolts or release it after the fight with the 6 human sovereign realm warriors was over. But Lu Li rejected the idea. The Fire Leopard King was too fast. In the time for just a few breaths, the dozens of clones Lu Li sent out were all smashed. It was hard for the Ding of Barbarian God to lock onto the Fire Leopard King, let alone put in. Ming Yu, what are you doing here? Go back. Lu Li glanced to Ming Yu, who grinned and said, Young master, let me see if the space seal can seal this beast. If I can't, I will leave right away. Okay. Lu Li nodded. He asked Ming Yu to stand on his fate wheel, and then he sent out clones again. This time, Ming Yu and Little White were replicated as well. Lu Ling and the noble Lord Realm warriors in the distance were shocked. Whoosh! Lu Li controlled the clones to fly around while he moved closer to the Fire Leopard King. When he was more than 1,000 feet away, Lu Li shouted, Ming Yu, do it! At the same time, Lu Li controlled more than a dozen clones to rush toward the Fire Leopard King to distract it. Ming Yu made a gesture with one hand. The beat of life in his abdomen spun quickly. The weather changed. Surges of unknown power gathered around him. Then a surge of horrifying chi and energy spread out and pressed toward the Fire Leopard King. Okay. Chapter 610. Roar. Before Lu Li's saber landed on the Fire Leopard King, the latter suddenly broke free from Lu Li's grip. With a flash, the Fire Leopard King reached its claws at Lu Li. Watch out. Young master, step back. Lu Ling and Ming Yu shouted at the same time. Ming Yu's eyes were filled with remorse and guilt. His space ceiling was powerful, but his realm was too low. He could not seal the Fire Leopard King completely. He could only seal it for the time, for less than one breath. A huge claw was getting bigger and bigger. Lu Li sensed a fatal sense of danger from the depth of his soul. Dozens of ideas flashed across his mind, but there was nothing he could do. His attack speed was too slow. He couldn't even injure the Fire Leopard King at the same time if he wanted to. Squeak, squeak, Little White's mane stood up and its eyes were filled with coldness. It screamed and flew away from Lu Li's shoulder. It went around Lu Li and pounced at the Fire Leopard King, tried to bite its neck. The Fire Leopard King showed a trace of contempt in its eyes. It didn't mind Lu Li anymore. It waved its paw casually, trying to smash Little White. Little White. Lu Li shouted anxiously, but it was too late to stop Little White. Lu Li would be an idiot if he didn't take advantage of the opportunity that Little White had created. He swung his divine weapon of Dragon King and hacked at the head of the Fire Leopard King from another direction. Bang! Bang! 2 muffled sounds came out almost at the same time. Little White was smashed into the ground by the Fire Leopard King. Lu Li's divine weapon of Dragon King landed on the head of the Fire Leopard King as well. What happened next shocked Lu Ling and Ming Yu. Lu Li's seemingly weak move had smashed the Fire Leopard King down and made it roll around in the valley. Roar, roar! After it rolled around, the Fire Leopard King staggered to its feet and roared in rage. Then it flew up again, but this time it was slower. It seemed that its injuries were more serious. Ming Yu seal. Lu Li checked the ground with psychic power. After he was sure that Little White was still alive, he shouted to Ming Yu. Lu Li generated more clones and dashed toward the Fire Leopard King. All right. Ming Yu released space sealing to seal up the Fire Leopard King and several clones of Lu Li. During this time, he had mastered the space sealing profound meaning well. He could seal up any space at will without affecting Lu Li's attacks. Whoosh! Lu Li controlled more than a dozen clones to fly over. He deliberately lagged behind. After the Fire Leopard King struggled out of the space seal, his doppelgangers rushed forward continuously. His real body swung the divine weapon of the Dragon Emperor and struck the Fire Leopard King's head again. Boom! The Fire Leopard King was smashed into the ground again. This time, it rolled a dozen times in the canyon. It stood up shakily, its vertical eye showing signs of fear and panic. Mingyu, quickly seal it. The Fire Leopard King is trying to escape. Luli bellowed. Mingyu reacted quickly. Once again, he sealed off the space. Luli and more than a dozen clones dashed toward the Fire Leopard King from all sides. Boom! Once again, Luli's divine weapon of the Dragon King landed on its head. This time, the Fire Leopard King didn't fly away. It trembled on the spot and then fell to the ground. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Luli was still worried. He hacked at the Fire Leopard King's head 3 times before he put away the divine weapon and exhaled. Phew, phew. Luli was panting heavily in the valley. Mingyu and Lu Ling checked the Fire Leopard King with psychic power. When the two of them found out that the Fire Leopard King's head had turned into a pile of paste, their eyes were filled with shock. The Fire Leopard King's defense was strong. Average warriors at the peak of the Noble Lord realm and even human sovereign realm warriors could not break its defense. Luli killed it with a few moves. In the distance, there were nearly 1,000 Noble Lord realm warriors that hadn't left to the deserted world. Almost all the talented disciples had made it out. The Noble Lord realm warriors had been watching the Fire Leopard King with psychic power. They were stunned by what they saw. It happened so fast. Lu Li and Ming, you killed the Fire Leopard King in the time for a few breaths. Many people didn't even have time to react. They only saw Lu Li and Ming Yu flying over, and then Lu Li hacking at the Fire Leopard King with his saber. Is the state counselor really only at the Eternal Realm? Many people had the same thought. Tu Hong and dozens of warriors of the Noble Lord Realm couldn't even hurt the Fire Leopard King. In other words, Lu Li's moves were more powerful than dozens of warriors of the Noble Lord Realm. It was understandable. Lu Li's moves were quite ordinary. Even though the weapon was a holy grade Xian artifact, there was no force. They couldn't sense any profound meaning. It didn't even look like a powerful Xian skill. It was just an average move. Squeak, squeak, Little White flew out from underground and hopped onto Lu Li's shoulder. Many warriors of the Noble Lord Realm checked with psychic power and were shocked. Little White was scratched by the Fire Leopard King. How come it was unharmed? Could this little beast be as strong as a Beast King? Phew, phew, Lu Ling was relieved. She flew over and landed next to Lu Li. She asked in a low voice, "Have you learned a profound meaning?" "Not yet." Lu Li shook his head and said, "I haven't been in closed-door cultivation for long enough. I have only scratched the surface. If I can cultivate for 10 days or half a month, I might be able to learn a new profound meaning." Okay, Lu Ling put on a smile. Lu Li's abilities had clearly improved. At least, his attacks were ferocious. He could even kill the Fire Leopard King. Lu Li smiled. After such a long time and a lot of effort, he had finally found a direction. He could kill the Fire Leopard King because his vibration waves of strength had reached 3 layers. Tu Hen's attack had inspired him. During the time he was in closed-door cultivation, he had successfully increased the vibration waves of his strength by 2 layers. The 3 strands of strength kept surging forward, which was why he could hurt the head and soul of the Fire Leopard King. After several attacks, the head of the Fire Leopard King was crushed. Lu Li hadn't figured out the specific profound meaning, but he had only scratched the surface. That being said, as long as he kept on studying, he would be able to learn the profound meaning. If the vibration waves of my strength can reach dozens or even hundreds, I can kill the 6 human sovereign realm warriors outside if I sneak up on them. Lu Li was cheered up. The enhancement of the vibration waves of his strength had improved his abilities by leaps and bounds. What was lacking now was his realm. His realm was still too low. He could see many flaws in the fight with the Fire Leopard King. When one's realm was low, one would be slow, and so would one's reaction. If it weren't for Little White, he would have been killed by the Fire Leopard King. I will continue to study the vibration waves of strength and try to learn this profound meaning. After that, I will improve my realm. I must reach the noble lord realm first. Chapter 611. Luli had killed the Fire Leopard King. Apart from God of Meng, the other 6 human sovereign realm warriors had a whole new level of respect for Luli. They were relieved and focused on the other Fire Leopard King. Noble Lord realm warriors didn't have to leave the deserted world. Lu Ling put the Fire Leopard King's body into her interspatial ring and asked someone to collect the bodies of Tu Hong and the others. She planned to bring them back to the Drifting Cloud City for a proper burial. Luli felt uncomfortable to see so many people looking at him as if he was a monster. Things were under control, so he brought Mingyu and Little White back to the base camp. Little White went into the Ding of Barbarian God to refine its body. Mingyu and Luli both went into a tent to cultivate. Mingyu's space sealing profound meaning needed to be studied further. Luli was in a hurry to learn a new profound meaning, so they didn't have to worry about the outside world anymore. Kumang and Ku LV were embarrassed. They did not expect the Fire Leopard King to be able to pass through the illusion. If it weren't for Lu Li and Mingyu, more than half of the more than 1,000 Noble Lord Realm warriors would have died. The 2 of them, along with the elders of the Shadowland tribe, hurriedly began to set up the illusory formation to cover the underground. At the same time, he prepared to set up another divine formation in the canyon, forming 2 lines of defense. This way, even if something happened, they would have time to leave the deserted world. Yi Jie was also very ashamed, but he was injured and couldn't do anything even if he wanted to. He could only let Yi Hu and the others go out to investigate while he recuperated in the base camp. There was an ancient race in the deserted world called the Shinnong clan. They were skilled in medicine and could bring the dead back to life. Although it was not as powerful as Dai Feiyu's bloodline divine skill, it was not weak in terms of healing either. After the elder of the Shinnong tribe healed Yishi's injuries recovered at a terrifying speed. Yishi didn't hurry to go out. Instead, she started to cultivate in seclusion. He realized that his realm was still too low. If he could reach the peak of the Noble Lord realm, he would be much faster. The battle outside was still ongoing, and it seemed like it would not end anytime soon. The Fire Leopard King was much stronger than the Fire Leopard King that had been killed. Although the 6 Renhuangs were cooperating well, it would take time to kill them. The warriors of the Noble Lord realm stayed at the entrance of the valley to watch the fight. At the same time, they were discussing and exclaiming about Lu Li's power. Lu Ling was in charge of the overall situation. She could not step back. She had to sit at the entrance of the valley. Boom! 2 hours later, the Fire Leopard King was finally blasted away. Its body was cut in half at the waist by Hu Lang, and it was completely dead. All right, cheers rang out from within the canyon. The 2 Fire Leopard Kings had been killed, and the surrounding land of millions of miles would be completely occupied. There would be endless spiritual materials waiting for them to harvest. Attack! Lu Ling waved her hand. More than 1,000 Noble Lord Realm warriors swarmed out and began to kill the fire leopards that came with the 2 Fire Leopard Kings. The 6 human sovereign realm warriors flew back. Hu Lang carried the dead body of the Fire Leopard King. The human sovereign realm warriors were exhausted. God of Meng was wounded again, so they went to the base camp to find the Shinnong race to heal. Yihu, all of you spread out and scout the situation. Collect the spirit materials that are easy to collect first. Lu Ling sent out all the Noble Lord Realm warriors of the Cyan Phoenix race. The Fire Leopard King was killed, and the remaining fire leopards were nothing to worry about. It was time to harvest. There were 8 warriors of the Noble Lord Realm at the Cyan Phoenix race. Apart from Yi Cha, all of them were sent out. Lu Li trusted the Cyan Phoenix race completely, and so did Lu Ling. 2 days later, Kamang and the rest finished setting up the formation in the valley. Once the army went out to hunt the fire leopards, Kamang and the others went out to continue building the ancient formation. With the help of the ancient formation at the entrance of the valley, it would be easier to kill powerful beast kings next time. With the 2 fire leopard kings killed, the situation was stabilized. The noble Lord Realm warriors killed the fire leopards in an orderly manner while the cyan phoenix race lured the fire leopards over. It was a good cycle. Time passed by as more fire leopards were killed. Half a month later, the number of fire leopards had dropped drastically. There were less than 10,000 left. Yehu and the others sent back batches of mystical materials, which piled up like a mountain. Lu Ling also sent out noble Lord Realm warriors to form teams of dozens. Even if there were only a few fire leopards, they could kill them easily. Apart from God of Meng, all the human sovereign realm warriors were sent out to ensure the safety of the teams. There were only so many noble Lord Realm warriors. The death of one noble Lord Realm warrior meant one less. Lu Ling would not allow any noble Lord Realm warrior to die for no reason. During this time, 5 more people had learned profound meanings, which made everyone overjoyed. They could hardly control themselves. Even though they had never seen many of the mystical materials and they didn't know their effects, they could tell that they were rare mystical materials. However, from the looks of it, it was obvious that it was a rare spiritual material. After appraising it, he could use it himself or sell it. There was an endless supply of mystical materials, and it was easier to learn profound meanings here. Many noble Lord Realm warriors felt they had seen a path to heaven. They wished they could stay here for decades. In a few decades, many people here would probably break through to the human sovereign realm. Hundreds of human sovereign realm warriors and several earth immortal realm warriors will be able to fight against one of the 12 royal families of the Central Plains, or even crush them. Lu Ling was busiest during this time. Not only did she have to manage the Inferno, but she also had to take care of the Northern Desert and the Clouds Plains. Fortunately, the news from the Serenity Plains was good. The 2 forces at the south of the Serenity Plains were not bought over by the Samsara Palace. For the time being, the armies of the Serenity Plains could not reach the Clouds Plains yet. Lu Li and Ming Yu were in closed-door cultivation. The talented disciples came in again, and they were cultivating hard. Lu Ling said that there would be an unlimited supply of mystical materials as long as they could keep making breakthroughs. Many mystical materials were shipped to the Clouds Plains secretly. Tu and I and the others were asked to sell them to the Central Plains and to purchase the mystical materials needed here. The Samsara Palace could not seal off the Clouds Plains completely. Big families would take risks when there were interests involved. What was more, the Central Plains was not a place where the Samsara Palace could call the shots. The Clouds Plains could trade with the tumulus of universe, and those forces were not afraid of the Samsara Palace. Everything was going well. The only thing that disappointed Lu Ling was that she sent someone to the Central Plains, to the Mystic Armor region, to ask about Lu Renhuang, but there was no news. There was no news of Lu Renhuang after he came out from the Ice Abyss. He didn't go back to the Mystic Armor region or any big cities. It was as if he had vanished from the world. Lu Renhuang would not even see his own son and daughter. He must have something important to attend to. Lu Ling was afraid that Lu Renhuang would go to the Central Plains to find his enemies and start a massacre. Back at the Northern Desert, Lu Renhuang was ambushed and his wife was badly injured. She gave birth to Lu Li prematurely. Later, Lu Renhuang took his wife to the Ice Abyss. In the end, Lu Ling and Lu Li's mother passed away. Those that dare to go against Lu Renhuang must be from one of the 12 royal families. How could an average family have the guts to ambush the future family patriarch of the Lu family? The 12 royal families all had Earth Immortal Realm warriors. Lu Renhuang was all by himself. Father, don't be impulsive. Lu Ling sighed to herself. With the Inferno, she was in possession of a land of treasures. Given some time, she could train a batch of human sovereign realm warriors. It was possible for her to reach the Earth Immortal Realm as well. By then, it was not impossible for her to defeat a royal family. Chapter 612. Nobody dared to challenge the authority of the Grand Master of the Demon-Slaying Hall. The Northern Desert had been peaceful recently. The Clouds Plains was fine as well. As long as the 2 forces at the south of the Serenity Plains were not bribed by the Samsara Palace, The two forces at the north would not dare to invade the Clouds Plains. After all, there were 6 known human sovereign realm warriors at the Clouds Plains. The Clouds Plains had more powerful warriors than the two forces. Lu Ling went back to the Clouds Plains once and came back after 2 days. Tuan'ai was the emperor of the Clouds Plains. As long as he was there, the Clouds Plains would not be in chaos. Lu Ling was not worried. She sent more scouts to the Serenity Plains and bribed many spies at a high price. She wanted to be informed at once if anything happened at the Serenity Plains. The teleportation formation to the deserted world was at the Serenity Plains. If the two forces were to take action and the passageway was destroyed, they would not be able to help the Serenity Plains. The Clouds Plains was united. Scouts from the Samsara Palace and the Serenity Plains could not go in, nor would they know that Lu Ling had entered the deserted world. Less than 10 people knew about the passageway. It was unlikely that it would be exposed. The territory of fire leopards in the Inferno had been occupied. Many mystical materials were collected. The number was staggering. There was no trace of humans in the small world. Fire leopards were beasts that could not consume mystical materials. Therefore, there were too many of them. What was more, the mystical materials here were old. Many seemed to be more than tens of thousands of years old. Some are even more than 100,000 years old. Lu Ling had people identify and classify the mystical materials. She would not use them if she was not sure of their effects. Because of this, Lu Ling transferred more warriors from the Clouds Plains. 3 months had passed. Lu Ling did not attack the territories of other beasts. She had too many things to do. She was not ready to expand yet. The resources obtained here needed to be digested, and the strength of the martial artists needed to be further improved. Many Eternal Realm warriors from the Northern Desert and the deserted world were mobilized, at least 1,000. Lu Ling provided them with endless mystical materials. As long as they could improve their realms, they could have more mystical materials. As a matter of fact, the Clouds Plains could mobilize more Eternal Realm warriors. However, the Serenity Plains and the Samsara Palace were eyeing the deserted world. Lu Ling dared not to make too much noise in case the deserted world was exposed. This was indeed a land of treasures. Within 3 months, more than 20 people had comprehended the profound meaning, including Hu Lang, who was at the Renhuang Plain. Chu Cheng, Godmeng, and the others were very excited that Hu Lang had comprehended the profound meaning. The Renhuang Plain mainly cultivated the profound meaning. Every time they had a great understanding of the profound meaning, it meant that their strength had improved greatly. Therefore, everyone was in seclusion day and night. He and I even walked around, looking for an opportunity to gain enlightenment. Lu Li and Ming Yu had been in closed-door cultivation for 3 months, and Little White had been struck by thunderbolts in the Ding of Barbarian God for 3 months. Lu Li had learned the basics of profound meaning. He knew the name of this profound meaning. It was a profound meaning related to space, called space vibration. The level of this profound meaning was not high, only at the 4th grade. No matter what grade it was, as long as this ultimacy could be perfectly integrated with the soul-shattering secret technique, it was a very powerful ultimacy. For the past 3 months, apart from cultivating Xian energy, Lu Li had been studying this profound meaning. He could already condense 10 energy shockwaves, and they were still increasing. 10 layers of power, continuously passing through the external defense and into the enemy's mind. How terrifying would this power be? Not even God of Ming dared to stand still and let Lu Li hack at him. His soul pawn might not explode, but it would be troublesome if he got concussion. The soul was the last place that could go wrong. Mingyu was progressing fast. His realm was higher, but he was still far from reaching the human sovereign realm. Even if he kept on cultivating and everything went smoothly, it would take him at least a year to reach the human sovereign realm. Lu Li came out from cultivation. It was not that he could no longer study the space vibration profound meaning. It was just that he was ready to build the 6th fate wheel and reach the middle stage of the eternal realm. His realm was his weakness. If his realm was too low, his speed of attack and reaction would be slow. He could be killed by human sovereign realm warriors in an instant. Lu Li first learned about the situation and then went back to the Snow Mountain of Dragons. Then, he went to the northern desert to learn more. He even brought Lu Feishue to the Inferno. The northern desert was stable. The only thing that disappointed Lu Li was there was still no news about the Bodhi fruit. Madame Yin sent someone to the Central Plains. Lu Ling had been keeping an eye out, but there was no news. It was as if Lu Ran Huang had vanished into thin air. Lu Ling was back, and so was Lu Ran Huang. Now, Lu Li's only regret was by Qiu Xue. There was also Jiang Qiling. She was left at the demon-slaying hall, and Lu Li didn't know how she was doing. Lu Li arranged for Lu Feishue to live in a tent, and he went back to his own to cultivate. The valley where the base camp was located was spacious. Now it was densely packed with tents. There were at least thousands of tents, and all of them were occupied. Lu Li asked Yi who to protect him while he began to build a fate wheel. It had been some time since the last time, and his foundation was solid. This time, the fate wheel was built without a hitch. It took him only 6 days. Lu Li didn't slack off after he came out from cultivation. He only rested for a day and then resumed cultivation. He had too little time. It had been almost a year since he came out from the demon-slaying hall. He had spent 1 to 10 years. In 9 years, the 4 forces would arrive at the northern desert and the Clouds Plains. He didn't have time to squander. It might be that Lu Li's diligence had influenced the talented disciples and warriors in the base camp. Almost all the warriors were cultivating. Some foppish young masters were driven out of the Inferno by Lu Ling, but she didn't let them go back to the Clouds Plains or the northern desert. She threw them into the Shadowland City. The Inferno was too important to Lu Li and Lu Ling. She could not allow any information to leak out. The 2 exits to the deserted world were guarded heavily. Nobody was allowed to leave. Once the Inferno was exposed, not only the 4 forces, but the other 8 would swarm in to fight for the treasured land. After another 2 months, a thick white fog suddenly filled the outside of the canyon, and cheers could be heard from within the white fog. Kumang and QLV had spent several months and hundreds of billions worth of materials. Finally, they had built an ancient formation of destruction of the Shadowland race. This was one of the 10 ancient formations of the Shadowland race. This formation could trap human sovereign realm warriors. Several human sovereign realm warriors went in and tried to make sure that the formation was powerful. Lu Ling ordered them to attack the territory of a herd of beasts next to the Inferno. In 5 months, more than 1,000 Eternal Realm warriors were mobilized. Some of them had reached the Noble Lord Realm. Now, there were more than 1,700 Noble Lord Realm warriors in the Inferno. As time went on, and with the accumulation of mystical materials, more would reach the Noble Lord Realm. Lu Ling was confident. She was determined to conquer the entire Inferno. Chapter 613. To the east of the Fire Leopard group, there was a group of beasts that looked like Cheelants. They were covered in flames and could even spit out flames. Adult Cheelant beasts could be as powerful as warriors of the Noble Lord Realm. There were at least 1 million of them, and only one of them was at the King Realm. Yi Jie named this monster Fire Cheelant. The Fire Cheelant mainly relied on fire and soul attacks. That's right. The Fire Cheelant's eyes could shoot out a strange energy that could attack a martial artist's soul. Fortunately, their soul attacks weren't particularly strong. Otherwise, these 1,000-plus people wouldn't even be enough for the Fire Cheelant to devour. Lu Ling stationed the army outside the territory of the Fire Cheelant and asked Kumang to build formations of illusion and destruction. Without the illusion formation and killing formation of the Heavenly Illusion Tribe, it would be a great loss to kill the Fire Kylan. It was conceivable that when tens of thousands of Fire Cheelants rushed over and breathed out flames, the battlefield would become a sea of fire. Those Noble Lord Realm warriors would have nowhere to hide. The casualties would be heavy. Kumang and the others brought many materials with them. Under Lu Ling's guidance, they built many formations of illusion in a mountain with complicated terrain. The mountain Lu Ling chose was a good one. The terrain was strange, and there were many ravines and ravines. Some formations of illusion had made the terrain more complicated. More than 1,000 people could hide on the countless mountain peaks, while the fire Qilin would be misled by the illusory array and run in circles below. More than a dozen formations of illusion were built. Still, Lu Ling didn't give the order to start the battle. Instead, she waited for Kumang and the others to build formations of destruction. This killing matrix could even trap or run Wang to death. As long as it was successfully set up, there would be no pressure at all when dealing with the fire Qilin. Kumang and the others successfully set up the primordial killing formation at the entrance of the canyon. This time, they were familiar with the process, and it took them 5 days to set it up in one go. Everything was fine. Yi Jie and the others moved, drawing many fire Qilins over. After these fire Qilins entered the various illusory arrays, they all became blind and deaf. They could only wander around in the ravines, completely unable to discover the martial artists hiding in the mountains and peaks. The slaughter became very easy. In the beginning, a few human sovereigns led the team and easily slaughtered groups of fire unicorns. Gradually, the noble Lord Realm warriors formed teams and took turns to kill the fire Qilins, as if they were harvesting wheat. Killing the fire Qilin was easier than killing the fire leopard, but it was very torturous. This was because the fire Qilin could spit fire, and its flames were very powerful. If one wasn't careful, one's entire body would be burned. The Shinong tribe became very important in this battle. Wounded soldiers were constantly sent to the new base camp, and the Shinong tribe was responsible for treating them. Without the Shinong race, the more than 1,000 noble Lord Realm warriors would become wounded, and they would have to lie in the base camp, unable to fight. The killing formation was activated, luring in several hundred fire Qilins. They were actually easily trapped to death by the killing formation. The hundreds of fire Qilins killed each other. In just a few hours, they were all dead. Once again, the Shadowland race was recognized by Lu Ling and the human sovereign realm warriors. Kumang, Ku LV, and the others were grinning from ear to ear. Originally, the Tianhuan clan was at the bottom of the deserted world. They could only stick to their headquarters and were often bullied by other clans. Now that he had followed Lu Li, he didn't expect to shine so brightly. Everything was on track. Lu Ling handed over the command of the scene to Hu Lang and went back to the valley where Lu Li was to cultivate. Lu Ling was a smart girl. She knew very well that the weak could defeat the strong with tactics and defeat the many with fewer. However, when one's strength reached a certain level, one could easily defeat 10 people with brute force. In the face of absolute power, all schemes were useless. Being of Fire Phoenix birth, her cultivation speed was fast. It would be a pity not to take advantage of such a good opportunity. Now, everything was stable, and Lu Ling didn't have to worry about anything. Naturally, she began to cultivate. Everyone at the base camp had become cultivation maniacs. They would only fall asleep when they were exhausted. Usually, they would take energy pellets and not eat or drink. They would cultivate all the time. With endless supply of mystical materials, more and more people were making breakthroughs. It was not surprising that some geniuses could reach the Fate Wheel realm from the Soul Pond realm in a month. Many talented disciples from the deserted world and the northern desert were sent here. There was a kid of the Bai family who was only 13 years old, but he was already at the middle stage of the Fate Wheel realm. Bai Xiaoshuang had built the 5th Fate Wheel, and Zilian had reached the middle stage of the Eternal Realm. Everyone's cultivation speed was improving like a rocket. If nothing happened outside, and they could cultivate like this, in less than 10 years, there would be many human sovereign realm warriors. Unfortunately, things didn't always go according to plan. 5 months later, a noble Lord Realm warrior of the Tu family came with the latest news from the Clouds Plains. The Serenity Plains was ready to make a move. The two forces at the south might have been bought over, and they could invade the Clouds Plains at any time. Lu Ling stopped cultivation at once. She asked about the Inferno and learned that the Fire Qilins were almost wiped out. A king of Fire Qilin was trapped in a formation of destruction and was killed by several human sovereign realm warriors. There were only about 300,000 fire cheilants left. It was only a matter of time before they were all wiped out. Lu Ling decided to leave Hu Lang, Tu Hen, and God of Meng, and go back to the Clouds Plains with the other 3 human sovereign realm warriors. Lu Ling didn't bid farewell to Lu Li since he was still cultivating. He could go to the Clouds Plains quickly, and she could come back soon as well. She just told Yi Cha to tell Lu Li that she would go back to the Clouds Plains and that Hu Lang would be in charge. Lu Li stopped cultivation half a month later. He didn't pay much attention when he learned that Lu Ling was going back to the Clouds Plains. He thought that she was just going back to have a look because she didn't tell Yi Cha what was going on at the Clouds Plains. Lu Li asked about the situation in the Inferno and the Northern Desert before he went back to cultivation. It had been more than half a year since the last time he made a fate wheel. Lu Li had made 2 fate wheels, and he only needed 1 more to make his bead of life and reach the Noble Lord realm. Therefore, Lu Li had been working hard during this time. He wanted to reach the Noble Lord realm as soon as possible so that his comprehensive abilities could be improved. For average warriors, it was difficult to reach the Noble Lord realm. But for disciples of super families, as long as they were talented, reaching the Noble Lord realm was a piece of cake. Ji Mengtian, Lu Xuan, Lu Ni, and Yang Xian could reach the Noble Lord realm easily. Lu Li had endless resources at his disposal. He was no different from disciples of major families. He was the son of Lu Renhuang, a disciple of the immediate Lu family. Naturally, he was talented. It was not surprising that he could improve so fast when he cultivated hard. Lu Ling had reached the middle stage of the Noble Lord realm in 2 years. Another 2 months passed. Lu Li was ready to make the last fate wheel when Hu Lang, Tu Hen, and God of Meng suddenly came to the base camp. They had received Lu Ling's order to go back to the Clouds Plains. God of Meng was Lu Li's man, so he had to ask Lu Li. Also, Hu Lang and the others were gone. Lu Li had to stay here to take command. What's going on? Lu Li opened his eyes, saw Hu Lang and the other 2, and asked in a hurry. Lu Li didn't come back for 2 months. He felt something was wrong at the Clouds Plains, but he was busy making the last fate wheel, so he didn't ask. Serenity Plains is invading. Chapter 614. The 2 forces at the south of the Serenity Plains have been on good terms with the tumulus of universe. They were not bribed by the Samsara Palace because Yi Luo and Lu Li were friends. However, when a young lady from the Ji family and a young master from the Hades Society came, the situation changed. Lu Li thought of a beautiful lady. Judging by the time, Ji Mengtian should still be in the Blood Realm. Who dared to let her out in advance when the Grand Master of the Demon-Slaying Hall gave the order to exile her? Lu Li asked, Ji Mengtian has other powerful young ladies? Hu Lang nodded and said, yes, Ji Mengtian's elder sister, Ji Mengyao. She is a well-known social butterfly of the Ji family. She is more dissolute than Ji Mengtian, and she specializes in seduction skills. According to the information, Ji Mengyao is in a relationship with the future family patriarchs of the 2 forces at the south. She has charmed the 2 young family patriarchs. I think the 2 young family patriarchs must have facilitated the 4 forces to work together to invade the Clouds Plains. How is that possible? Lu Li asked in confusion. How can the 2 young family patriarchs influence the decision of the family? Are the patriarchs of the 2 forces useless? Every major force had a hall of patriarchs. Important decisions could not be made easily. Not even the family patriarchs had the right to make decisions. Most of the patriarchs had to agree. Ji Mengyao had charmed the 2 young family patriarchs. Those patriarchs were not idiots. Why would they change the family strategy because of the 2 young family patriarchs? Hu Lang could not figure it out either. He said, maybe there are other reasons. I think the Samsara Palace and the Hades Society have something on them to blackmail them. Lu Li thought for a while, but could not come to a conclusion. He asked, what did my sister say? Hu Lang said with respect, Saintess said that you should stay here and cultivate. The armies of the Clouds Plains are nothing to be afraid of. She can wipe them out easily. She told you to stay in the Inferno and leave the Clouds Plains to us. Then go to the Clouds Plains. God of Meng, you go with me. Listen to my sister. Luli waved his hand. He was about to break through to the last fate wheel. A few more days didn't matter. Including God of Meng, the Clouds Plains had 8 human sovereign realm warriors, which was not much weaker than the Serenity Plains. Even if the Clouds Plains could not defeat the human sovereign realm, they should be able to hold out for a month. Hu Lang left with God of Meng, 2 hen, and hundreds of noble Lord Realm warriors. Luli asked Yi Cha to go with him as well. When they left, Luli checked Ming Yu with psychic power. He could tell that Ming Yu had reached the peak of the noble Lord Realm. But it seemed that Ming Yu still needed some time to reach the human sovereign realm. The situation in the Inferno prison was very stable. The territory of the Fire Qilin had been completely conquered. Most of the mystical materials had been collected and sent to Lu Feixue. Since Lu Ling was not here, the mystical materials were under Lu Feixue's control. Now that Hu Lang was gone as well, Luli told everyone to follow Lu Feixue's orders. Luli told the warriors in the Inferno to stop expanding after they collected all the mystical materials from the Fire Qilin. They were to go back to the base camp and wait until the war at the Clouds Plains was over. He immediately went into seclusion to form the last fate wheel and asked Yi Hu to protect him. It took him half a month to form the last fate wheel. Buzz! The 9-layered fate wheel appeared. It didn't have 9 colors, just a silver glare. Luli hopped on it and flew out of the valley. Whoosh! His fate wheel spun and reached its maximum speed. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared from everyone's sight at a frightening speed. Ming Yu, Yi Hu, and Lu Feixue stood at the entrance of the valley, staring at where Lu Li had disappeared to. Lu Feixue's jaw dropped. After a while, she asked in surprise, Lu Li is faster than Hu Lang, isn't he? It will definitely be much faster. Yi Hu said with certainty, Saint Lord, you were already faster than warriors at the initial stage of the human sovereign realm. Hu Lang has reached the middle stage of the human sovereign realm, but speed is not his forte. Saint Lord, you must be faster than that. Really? Lu Feixue covered her mouth. Ming Yu was mesmerized by her astonishment. Lu Feixue was born in a big family. She had an extraordinary temperament, and her looks were top-notch. Over the years, the scar on her heart had healed. She had regained the elegance of a young girl. It was not surprising that she could attract men. Lu Feixue patted her chest and asked in confusion, Has Luli learned a high-level profound meaning related to speed? Otherwise, how can a warrior at the peak of the eternal realm be faster than a warrior at the middle stage of the human sovereign realm? I don't know. Yi Hu could not figure it out. Luli did learn a profound meaning of speed, but it was not a high-level profound meaning. Luli was probably the only one who knew why he was so fast. Whoosh! Luli flew back from the distance. In a blink, he was in front of Lu Feixue and the others. Luli was satisfied with the improvement of his realm. His speed and reaction had improved. He turned to Ming Yu and said, Ming Yu, I need to go to the Clouds Plains. Stay here and help my aunt. Ming Yu frowned and asked, Do you want me to go to the Clouds Plains with you? Luli shook his head and said, I think you should reach the human sovereign realm first. It is pointless for you to go now. You cannot defeat human sovereign realm warriors, but you don't have to kill noble Lord Realm warriors. Ming Yu thought it made sense, so he said nothing more. Luli said to Lu Feixue, Before we come back, nobody can leave the base camp or the Inferno. We will talk about it when we come back. Be careful. Luli's nephew was much more powerful than her. Lu Feixue could not control him. She just told him with concern. Yi Hu, let's go. Luli waved his hand and left with Yi Hu. He woke up Little White that was still refining its body in the ding of Barbarian God. He put away the ding of Barbarian God and bid farewell to Bai Xiaoshuang and Zilian before he left the Inferno. He went back to the Snow Mountain of Dragons and stayed with Bai Qiuxue for half a day in the ice room. Then, he teleported to the Serenity Plains with Yi Hu. The passageway was well hidden. The 2 noble Lord Realm warriors of the Palace of Sun occupying the passageway didn't attract the attention of the forces of the Serenity Plains. As far as the forces of the Serenity Plains were concerned, the Palace of Sun and the Drifting Cloud Hall were enemies, and the enemy of an enemy was a friend. How was the Clouds Plains? There was a noble Lord Realm Warrior at the Palace of Sunday. Luli asked about the Clouds Plains. The noble Lord Realm Warrior's soul was controlled by Lu Ling. He answered with respect, "It is not good. The Serenity Plains army has reached the hinterland of the Clouds Plains. They have taken over half of the territory and are now expanding toward the Drifting Cloud City." That's serious? Yihu looked awful. Luli knew that Lu Ling was smart, so he was not worried. He just asked, "How many times has our human sovereign realm warrior made a move?" "Once," the noble Lord Realm Warrior of the Palace of Sun answered. But when the army reached the Clouds Plains, Emperor Tu-Ni took action with 4 human sovereign realm warriors. But after 2 of them were badly injured by 9 human sovereign realm warriors of the Serenity Plains, our human sovereign realm warrior never took action again. Okay, I see. Luli put his mind at ease. From the brief introduction, Luli had seen traces of Lu Ling's plan. Clearly, she was pretending to be weak and luring the enemy deeper into their territory. It was easy for the Serenity Plains army to come in, but it would be hard for them to go back. Chapter 615. The 4 forces of the Serenity Plains had mobilized 10 million warriors. 9 of them were at the human sovereign realm, and more than 5,000 were at the noble lord realm. Powerful warriors of the 4 forces had come out in full force. All the human sovereign realm warriors were on the move. Clearly, they were not here for fun. They were here to uproot Lu Ling's forces and occupy the fertile land of the Clouds Plains. Lu Li and Yi Hu teleported to the Drifting Cloud City through the teleportation formation. The atmosphere in the city was heavy. Many of the citizens in the city had migrated back, and many had probably left during this period of time. The city seemed a little empty. Lu Li used psychic power to find Lu Ling. She was playing the Chinese zither in the back hall by herself. She closed her eyes and shook her head. She seemed to be enjoying herself. Ha. Luli was more relieved to see Lu Ling like this. He walked to the back hall with Yihu. Lu Ling had just finished when Luli walked over. She opened her eyes, looked at him, and said with a smile, "You have reached the peak of the eternal realm? It will take you at least half a year to build your bead of life, right?" Luli nodded and said, "I have the rising dragon grass, but I need to stabilize my realm or I will fail. I will need at least 4 to 5 months. Sis, have you made your plan?" Lu Ling nodded and poured Luli a cup of tea. She looked at Yi, who left on his own. Lu Ling then said, "When the Serenity Plains army was sent out, I had already made my plan. If everything goes well, the Serenity Plains will be able to take over the Serenity Plains." Yeah, Luli was surprised. He had thought that it would be good enough if they could defeat the Serenity Plains army. He didn't expect that Lu Ling was planning to take over the entire Serenity Plains. He didn't doubt Lu Ling's abilities. But he said with concern, "Clouds Plains and the Serenity Plains are big. If we take them both, will the Central Plains retaliate?" Clouds Plains and the Serenity Plains were big. Taking over the two would create a powerful force which would impact the 12 royal families of the Central Plains. Back in the days, the Pavilion of Blossoms had taken over 3 continents and developed quickly. Eventually, it dominated the Central Plains, at least for the next 8 or 9 years. Lu Ling smiled and said, "In 8 or 9 years, the Samsara Palace and the other 3 forces will attack us. During this time, the 12 royal families will not bully us openly. If so, why should we be afraid of them? Why don't we expand? The stronger we are, the greater our influence will be, and the less the 4 major powers will dare to act recklessly. We need to take advantage of these 8 or 9 years to quickly develop our forces so that we can contend with the 4 major forces in the future." And Luli thought about it and agreed. He asked, "When do we pull in the net?" "With my current speed, even those in the middle stage of the human sovereign realm can't catch up with me. If I can launch a sneak attack, those in the early stage of the human sovereign realm can kill me with 1 strike. When the battle starts, I will move with the main force." So fast, Lu Ling was taken aback. She thought for a while and said, "There is still half a month before the net is drawn in. Cultivate now. I will arrange for you to fight later." Lu Ling was afraid that something might happen to Lu Li. That being said, if a warrior didn't fight, he would never have the chance to become a powerful warrior. Lu Ling was decisive in killing. She was cruel to her enemies and to herself as well. When she was still a little girl, she was able to cut her own thigh to scare off Di, Hu, and the others. Now that they had decided to let Lu Li grow through battles, they wouldn't have to worry too much. Lu Li's participation in the battles had become a foregone conclusion. Knowing that he could fight, Lu Li went to cultivate without worrying about anything else. He had complete trust in Lu Ling. There shouldn't be any suspense in this fight. After 10 days of closed-door cultivation, Lu Li was woken up by someone sent by Lu Ling. Lu Ling didn't see him. She just told him to go with Hu Lang, and Hu Lang would tell him all the plans. Serenity Plains? When Lu Li saw Hu Lang bringing him and 100 warriors at the peak of the Noble Lord realm to a castle, about to teleport to the cave at the entrance to the deserted world, he was surprised. But soon he understood. Drastic measures. The Serenity Plains was the base camp of the four forces. Human sovereign realm warriors of the Serenity Plains had come to the Clouds Plains with the army. The Clouds Plains was practically defenseless. Hu Lang and Lu Li could sweep across the entire Serenity Plains with 100 Noble Lord realm warriors. When the rear was in chaos, the morale of the armies here would be shaken. The Serenity Plains would send back powerful warriors. By then, Lu Ling could set up ambushes and take them down one by one. The Serenity Plains had taken over half of the territory of the Clouds Plains. Inevitably, the battlefront of the Serenity Plains would be stretched and the armies would be dispersed. Once the Serenity Plains was in chaos, Lu Ling's counterattack would begin. The battlefront was long, and the Clouds Plains was the home field. The Clouds Plains could launch sneak attacks everywhere. The Serenity Plains would be badly battered, and the Serenity Plains would lose their bearings. Let's go. Lu Li was more confident. Lu Ling was good at planning, and she had studied the chessboard of the Clouds Plains thoroughly. If the Serenity Plains, a dragon, entered the Clouds Plains recklessly, it would only end up being nibbled away one by one. Let's go to the north first. After everyone was teleported over, Hu Lang immediately led everyone and flew towards the north at high speed. The two forces at the north of the Serenity Plains were both running dogs of the Samsara Palace. When the lairs of the two forces were attacked, the news would be sent to the front line. The two forces at the south didn't want to attack the Clouds Plains. Once they heard the news, their morale would be shaken, and they would retreat for fear that their lairs would be attacked. The teleportation formation was at the north of the Serenity Plains, only tens of millions of miles away from the main city of the Yama Palace. Hu Lang and the others traveled day and night. They didn't enter any cities. They picked the most remote routes and killed all the scouts on the way. In just 2 days, Hu Lang and Lu Li arrived at the Yama city. The city was peaceful. Not even the shield was activated. They didn't expect that Lu Li and the others would sneak in. At the moment, the south of the Clouds Plains was under attack. Armies and scouts of the Serenity Plains were everywhere. Theoretically speaking, it would be difficult for warriors of the Clouds Plains to sneak into the Serenity Plains. Little did they know that over a year ago, a teleportation formation was built at the Serenity Plains that was directly connected to the drifting Cloud City. Hoi! Hu Lang generated a huge hand and smashed it at the city. Dozens of castles in the city were smashed and thousands of people were killed. Kill them. Apart from civilians, kill all the warriors. With the character Wolf in his name, Hu Lang had always been a violent person. With a roar, he took the lead and dashed toward the main hall of the Yama Palace. Whoosh, 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 the city was in chaos. Many warriors flew up, but most of the powerful ones had gone to the Serenity Plains. There were only hundreds of Noble Lord Realm warriors, and none of them were at the Human Sovereign Realm. Lu Li glanced over with psychic power. He had no desire to take action. The city had a large population, at least 10 million civilians and hundreds of thousands of warriors. But there was no Human Sovereign Realm warrior. Hu Lang was at the middle stage of the human sovereign realm. He was like a hungry wolf leading 100 wolf pups into a flock of sheep. The result was predictable. Boom, boom, boom. The 100 warriors of the noble lord realm shot out beams of Xian energy and killed many civilians by mistake. Luli felt sorry for them and said, "Be careful. Civilians are innocent. Do not kill civilians." Yes, Luli was the state counselor of the Empire of Cloud's Prowess, the younger brother of Lu Ling. He had a distinguished status. The 100 warriors at the peak of the noble lord realm didn't dare to disobey Lu Li. Charge. Chapter 616. A tiger with a pack of hungry wolves dashed into a flock of sheep. There might be some shepherd dogs in the flock, but would the outcome be any different? Hu Lang was unstoppable. He focused on killing the noble Lord Realm warriors. He was fast, and he had force field. He dashed into the crowd of noble Lord Realm warriors, activated the Force City, and killed the noble Lord Realm warriors of the Yama Palace one by one. Lu Li released so many clones that he was even faster than Hu Lang. It felt like the sky above the city was filled with his shadows, like ghosts. Many civilians were scared to death. Lu Li didn't use any complicated moves. He just waved his divine weapon of Dragon King casually. Every move would land on the head of a noble Lord Realm warrior of the Yama Palace. With a muffled sound, the noble Lord Realm warrior bled from his eyes, ears, nose, and mouth. He fell from the sky, stirring up a cloud of dust. Hu Lang and Lu Li focused on the noble Lord Realm warriors, while Hu Lang and the 100 warriors at the peak of the noble Lord Realm would target the regular warriors. This was a plan that had been made. 100 noble Lord Realm warriors to kill Eternal Realm, Fate Wheel Realm, and Soul Pond Realm warriors would be as easy as wolves killing lambs. Therefore, even though there were only 102 warriors on Hu Lang's side and hundreds of thousands of warriors of the Yama Palace, it was a one-sided slaughter. In the time for 3 incense sticks to burn, the hundreds of noble Lord Realm warriors of the Yama Palace were all injured or killed. The more than a dozen noble Lord Realm warriors that were seriously injured were purposely spared by Hu Lang so that he could send a message to the army at the Clouds Plains. Tens of thousands of the army of 200,000 or 300,000 had been slaughtered by the 100 noble Lord Realm warriors. They had no power to fight back. Finally, the warriors of the Yama Palace were scared. They began to flee to all directions. Hu Lang and Lu Li knew that they could not kill all of them. After all, there were too many of them. They were not here for a massacre. They were here to attack the base of the Yama Palace, to instill fear in the warriors of the Yama Palace, and lower their morale. Boom, boom, boom. Hu Lang attacked with Xian energy. Many castles in the main hall of the Yama Palace were leveled to the ground. Some luxurious castles and mansions in the city were destroyed as well, turning the Yama city into ruins. As for the teleportation formations in the city, they were destroyed as soon as Hu Lang and the others arrived to prevent powerful warriors from other forces from sending reinforcements. Whoosh! After killing for a while more, when most of the cultivators had fled, leaving behind only the terrified and trembling commoners, Hu Lang shouted, "Let's go. Let's go to Crystal City in the south." 102 people came, 98 left, and 7 or 8 were injured. 3 of them had died because they had underestimated the enemy and were dragged down by a few Yama Palace martial artists to perish together. Hu Lang and Lu Li were comparable to an army of thousands. It was normal for them to achieve such results. Everyone whizzed towards the south. On the way, they encountered soldiers who tried to escape and killed them all. 2 hours later, they entered the mountains. Lu Li looked at Hu Lang and asked, "General, are we really going to the Crystal City?" Crystal City was the headquarters of Crystal Palace, a major force in the south of Yuzhou Province. It would take at least 10 days to reach Crystal City from here. That was why Lu Li was confused. There was a big force in the north, the Black Tortoise Hall, which was only 2 or 3 days away. Why didn't they go to the Black Tortoise Hall first? Creating a diversion? Of course we're going to the Marshall Hall. Hu Lang grinned. Lu Li finally understood. But he didn't think it was necessary since there were no human sovereign realm warriors at the Serenity Plains. It would take some time for the human sovereign realm warriors at the Clouds Plains to come back. Even if they wanted to, Lu Ling wouldn't let them go so easily. How about we just kill our way into the city and take the teleportation formation? Lu Li suggested. They wanted to end the battle as soon as possible. Even if they took the teleportation formation, who could hurt them without a human sovereign realm warrior? Forget it. Hu Lang turned down the suggestion and explained, killing is secondary. Our main purpose is to destabilize the morale of the Serenity Plains. Therefore, it is better that we don't kill. Otherwise, if we kill all of them, the Serenity Plains will throw caution to the wind and fight to the death with us. All right. This time, Lu Ling asked Lu Li to go with Hu Lang. Since Hu Lang insisted, Lu Li couldn't say anything else. They traveled day and night with the army and sneaked toward the Black Tortoise City secretly. They went through the wild mountains and killed any scouts they couldn't avoid. Since they were fast enough, they arrived at the Black Tortoise City in just 2.5 days. This time, Hu Lang didn't give the order to attack immediately. Instead, he told them to rest for a couple of hours. Even though they were all powerful, they were tired after several days and nights of traveling. Lu Ling's mission for Hu Lang was to turn the Serenity Plains upside down. She didn't specify what they had to do or how many people they had to kill. They ate some food and rested for 8 to 10 hours. Hu Lang waved his hand and said, "Let's go. Let's break into the Black Tortoise City." They flew up and dashed toward the Black Tortoise City. They were close to the city anyways, and they didn't have to worry about being exposed. From the distance, they saw a huge city with a blue shield glowing over it. The other big cities were informed of the massacre at the Yama City. On the second day, all the city shields were activated. Even though they were not strong enough, they could stop the invaders for a while. Hu Lang and Lu Li frowned when they saw the shield. There must be a lot of energy in the shield. It would take them at least a couple of hours to crack it. Would there be any changes in the next 2 to 4 hours? Would they be ambushed by the human sovereign realm warriors of the Serenity Plains? No one could be sure of that. Hu Lang thought about it. In the end, he made up his mind and said, "State Counselor, you hide nearby with some people. I will go and breach the city by myself. Even if something goes wrong, I can easily escape with my strength." Lu Li thought about it and said, "How about I go with you? You know how fast I am." "No," Hu Lang said with determination. "I will go alone, and you can look after me secretly. I can breach the city by myself." Lu Li was Lu Ling's brother. Even though she didn't say anything, Hu Lang's entire family would be put to death if something happened to Lu Li. Whoosh, with that said, Hu Lang flew away. Lu Li had no choice but to go down with the others. They dug a cave in a mountain and looked at the Black Tortoise City from the distance. Boom, boom, boom. Soon, loud explosions rang out from the other side. Hu Lang continuously sent out giant palm imprints towards the city barrier array. The city was in chaos. Countless cultivators flew up and stood on the city walls, staring at Hu Lang in the sky. "Go and have a look." Lu Li waved his hand. A warrior of the Silver Wolf Mountain sneaked over. After the time for one incense stick to burn, he came back and reported, "The Black Tortoise City is the same as the Yama City. There are not many powerful warriors. There are only several hundreds of noble Lord Realm warriors and about 200,000 warriors. Let's be careful." Lu Li sent out more than a dozen warriors to scout around the Black Tortoise City. If they found anything, they could report to Hu Lang and evacuate. Boom, boom, boom. Above the huge city in the distance, a huge palm print continuously slammed down, and the huge blue light barrier flickered incessantly, creating a soul-stirring scene. Chapter 617. Boom, boom, boom. As more and more hands smashed down, the shield grew dimmer and thinner. The city grew more chaotic. Something is wrong. Lu Li had been observing from the distance. He felt something was off. After 2 hours, he could not sit still any longer. He whispered to a noble Lord Realm warrior next to him and sneaked out of the city. He hid in a ravine and checked the city with psychic power. The city was in a mess. Civilians were screaming and running around. Children were crying, and the elderly were shedding tears. It was like the end of the world. The faces of the soldiers on the city walls were filled with fear. They paced back and forth on the city walls, their gazes locked onto Hu Lang. They were filled with anger and fear. Nothing was wrong. Luli used psychic power to check the city again. Eventually, he noticed a huge mansion. The mansion was luxurious. It was the headquarters of the Black Tortoise Hall. Naturally, the ones living here were the higher-ups and core disciples of the Black Tortoise Hall. Luli noticed something was wrong as soon as he went in. There were hardly any elderly, women, or children in the Black Tortoise Hall. Clearly, they had been relocated, which was normal. As soon as the Yama city was breached, the elderly, women, and children of the major families must have been relocated. What was unusual was that the Black Tortoise Hall was not in a mess. It was only the servants that were in a mess. The thousands of warriors in the Black Tortoise Hall looked solemn and frightened. Upon closer inspection, Luli could tell that they had no intention of running away. It was as if they were ready to fight to the death with Hu Lang. The teleportation formation in the city had been glowing. Many people were teleported away. The warriors of the Black Tortoise Hall could have teleported away easily. Why didn't they? Were all the warriors of the Black Tortoise Hall so brave that they wanted to die for the city? Luli's psychic power was strong. After being transformed by divine energy, he could scan the entire Black Tortoise Hall easily. His spiritual will stopped at a castle, where he found a vaguely familiar face. But on closer inspection, he realized he did not know her. It was a beautiful young lady in her early 20s at the later stage of the Noble Lord realm. She wore a red dress and a red earring, like a ball of fire. Her looks were stunning, not much weaker than Lu Ling's. She was elegant and dignified, like a queen standing high above the masses. However, there was an unconcealable charm in her eyes. This was a woman who was seductive to the bone. The lady was drinking tea leisurely in the castle. Next to her stood a bald old man and two handsome young masters. Luli sensed that the three were only at the Noble Lord realm, so he didn't pay much attention to them. Ji Mengtian. Suddenly, Luli trembled. He remembered who this person looked like. This man looked very much like Ji Mengtian. No wonder he looked familiar. Soon, a name came to Lu Li's mind, Ji Mengyao. Lu Li had heard that the Samsara Palace sent over a capable young lady that charmed the future family patriarchs of two forces at the south of the Serenity Plains. Eventually, the two forces joined forces to invade the Cloud's plains. Instead of going to the Cloud State or returning to the Samsara Palace, this miss stayed here. Lu Li's sense of danger was growing stronger. He suddenly looked up at the shield, seeing that it was about to collapse. Lu Li called over a Noble Lord Realm warrior and told him to tell Hu Lang to retreat. Ji Mengyao was here, and she was very stable. Lu Li would never believe that she didn't have some tricks up her sleeves. He had a taste of Ji Mengtian's cruelty. She had set him and Jiang Qiling up without any warning. This Ji Mengyao seemed to be more capable than Ji Mengtian. Lu Li would not dare to be careless. Lu Ling only asked him and Hu Lang to turn the Serenity Plains upside down. They didn't have to worry about the loss of one city or land. If they couldn't conquer this city, they could conquer other cities. Whoosh! A Noble Lord Realm warrior of the Silver Wolf Mountain flew up. Lu Li stepped back quietly, ready to retreat. What annoyed Lu Li was, Hu Lang didn't stop after receiving the warning. Instead, he kept on attacking. The shield was about to collapse. Hu Lang was not willing to give up. Maybe he was confident in his own abilities. Also, he didn't see any human sovereign realm warriors in the city. Boom. Finally, the shield collapsed. Hu Lang generated a huge hand and smashed at the teleportation formation in the plaza. Boom. The entire city shook violently. A huge handprint appeared on the plaza, and the ground sank to an unknown depth. Several large teleportation formations were smashed, and so were the teleportation formations nearby. Charge! Hu Lang yelled. He generated another hand and smashed at the mansion of the Black Tortoise Hall. There were many disciples of the Black Tortoise Hall and hundreds of noble Lord Realm warriors there. One move would kill half of them. With a cold snort, a bald old man flew up from a castle. He clenched his fist and punched at the hand in the sky. His punch attracted the power of heaven and earth, and the xian-qi of heaven and earth gathered above his fist, forming a giant golden fist shadow, colliding with the giant palm print that was pressing down. Boom! The space in midair trembled violently as the giant palm and golden fist collapsed, transforming into terrifying spatial shockwaves that radiated in all directions. Many castles on the ground collapsed. Many warriors flew out from the castles. Human sovereign realm warriors? When Hulang saw the bald old man flying up, his eyes narrowed slightly. He had just checked the bald old man. He was only at the peak of the noble lord realm. How come he had become a human sovereign realm warrior? He was at the middle stage of a human sovereign realm, just like Hulang. Whoosh! From the castle down below, Ji Mingyao flew out and stood on top of castle. Several handsome young masters flew out from nearby castles and stood next to Ji Mingyao, looking at Hulang in the sky with a sneer. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh! From the distance came some noises. The scouts sent out by Lu Li came back in fear. They shouted from the distance, "Ambush!" Lu Li pulled a long face. He looked into the sky and saw at least more than 1,000 warriors of the noble lord realm swarming toward them. Lu Li felt his heart was weighed down with anxiety. This was a trap. Clearly, someone had set it up for them. The person had predicted that they would come to the Black Tortoise City. But Lu Li was confused. How could one warrior at the middle stage of the human sovereign realm, 1,000 noble lord realm warriors, and hundreds of thousands of regular warriors stop them? Let's go. Since he was already surrounded by others, there was no point in hiding anymore. Lu Li waved his hand and flew up with all the warriors at the peak of the noble lord realm toward Hulang. Hulang didn't make any more moves. He stared at the bald old man and said coldly, "You are not from the Serenity Plains. You are from the Samsara Palace? The Samsara Palace wants to meddle in the dispute between the Serenity Plains and the Clouds Plains?" Hulang had learned about the human sovereign realm of the Serenity Plains many years ago. This bald old man was unfamiliar to him. He could not be a powerful warrior from the Serenity Plains. The bald old man didn't make a move either. He smiled and said, "You must have heard of me. I am from the Solar Dragon Island. My name is Recluse Solar Dragon. It's you." After a while, Ji Mingtian said to Lu Li gently, "Young Master Lu, what is it? Who stipulates that we can't travel in Yuzhou province? Could it be that Yuzhou is also young Master Lu's territory?" Lu Li knew the role Ji Mingyao played in this battle. He was sure that she was playing tricks behind the scenes. That being said, it was pointless without any proof. He sneered and said, "There was a young lady named Ji Mingtian from your family. She tried to set me up and was tortured by me for a few months. She begged for death. Now, he was exiled to the blood world. Who knew if he was dead or alive? Lady Ji, I hope you will not make a mistake. I, Lu Li, am not a man who has tender feelings for women." While Lu Li was saying this, he kept his eyes on Ji Mingyao. As he had expected, Ji Mingyao's eyes grew colder. There was killing intent in the depth of her eyes. But Ji Mingyao was shrewd. Soon, she giggled, patted her chest, and said with fear, "Young Master Lu, don't scare me. I'm a coward. I'm here for a trip. I don't care about the business of the Serenity Plains and the Clouds Plains." "You are a coward." Looking at Ji Mingyao patting her chest, Lu Li didn't save her any face and said, "But your chest is big. It is said that girls with big breasts are brainless. I hope you're not like that, Lady Ji." Ha ha ha. The nearly 100 warriors of the Silver Wolf Mountain laughed out loud. They all stared at Ji Mingyao's full breasts. Many men in the Black Tortoise Hall turned to Ji Mingyao out of instinct. "You, shameless." Ji Mingyao could no longer keep her composure, sensing that so many men were staring at her and listening to the obscene laughter of the warriors of the Clouds Plains. She didn't expect that Luli didn't have the bearing of a young master of a big family. Instead, he was like a scoundrel in the marketplace. For a moment, she didn't know how to respond. Even though Lu Li was a young master of a big family, he was born in poverty. He didn't have many scruples. As far as he was concerned, Ji Mingyao was not a delicate beauty, but a vicious woman like Ji Mingtian. Since she was an enemy, then there was no need for him to show any mercy. Let's go out of the city. Ji Mingyao flew up and flew out of the city with several young masters. Outside the city, Ji Mingyao said with a cold smile, Lu Li, is this all you can do to bully a girl? We will not get involved in the fight between the Clouds Plains and the Serenity Plains. We will stay here and enjoy the show. We will see how you will be killed by the warriors of the Serenity Plains. Ji Mingyao's voice was loud. She said it in front of everyone in the city. She had left herself out. She was trying to show that this had nothing to do with them. It was just a coincidence that they ran into each other and saw a show. Set up the formation. Ji Mingyao's words were an order to attack. Recluse Solar Dragon touched his bald head and looked at Lu Li with a lascivious look, which gave Lu Li goosebumps. Whoosh, whoosh, the more than 1,000 noble lord realm warriors from all sides spread out and stood in a strange formation. Lu Li and Hu Lang put their guards up. Recluse Solar Dragon wanted to stop them with such a small number of warriors. Did he have something up his sleeves? Hu Lang released his human sovereign realm chi and energy. He shouted, Bastard Solar Dragon, are you sure you want to go against the Clouds Plains? Recluse Solar Dragon smiled and said, The Black Tortoise Hall has offered me a high price. Since I have taken their money, I have to help them. Ha! Ha! Lu Li and Hu Lang looked at each other and sneered. Recluse Solar Dragon didn't take money from the Black Tortoise Hall, but from the Samsara Palace. If it were not for the fact that the Samsara Palace had asked him to come out, how could Recluse Solar Dragon have the courage to go against the Clouds Plains? Admittedly, Ji Mingtian had done a good job. She had asked a famous warrior of the Central Plains to come. He had nothing to do with the Samsara Palace or the Hades Society. Even if Lu Li were to die here today, the Grand Master of the Demon-Slaying Hall wouldn't be able to vent his anger on the Samsara Palace or the Hades Society. Charge! Hu Lang and Lu Li shouted at the same time. The more than 1,000 noble Lord Realm warriors were in formation. If they were to break out, the 100 noble Lord Realm warriors they brought with them would all die, not to mention whether they could escape. Hu Lang and Lu Li didn't believe that Recluse Solar Dragon could defeat them all by himself. As long as they could kill this freak, the situation would still be under their control. Clones, with a white glare, dozens of Lu Li's clones flew around and dashed to all directions. Lu Li himself, more than a dozen clones, and Hu Lang dashed toward Recluse Solar Dragon. Formation! Recluse Solar Dragon shouted. The more than 1,000 noble Lord Realm warriors released their Xian energy at the same time. What surprised Hu Lang and Lu Li was that Recluse Solar Dragon's Xian energy was not aimed at them, but at each other. It was like they were connecting the more than 1,000 noble Lord Realm warriors with strings. Buzzing, the noble Lord Realm warriors glowed. The Xian energy they released didn't disappear. Instead, it became strings that connected them together. A huge octagonal rhombus appeared in the sky. Lu Li and the others were all inside it. Oh no! Hu Lang and Lu Li felt a surge of energy envelop them, slowing them down by half. Hu Lang were shocked. What kind of formation was this? They had never heard of such a strange one. It would start at midnight on the 31st. There would be at least 20 chapters on the 31st, maybe more. It would start at midnight on the 31st. Secondly, from today to the 31st, there would be 3 chapters a day and 4 on the weekends. The reason was obvious. They were saving up for the release of the chapters. Chapter 619. Lu Li didn't know much about inhibition formations, but all the formations he knew needed to be set up. Those that needed formation stones were all set up underground, not in the air. Right now, there were no erase stones or any other arrangements. Instead, they relied on over 1,000 people to create a large array in midair. Moreover, it was extremely terrifying, suppressing their speed by half. Such a strange thing was simply unheard of. Hu Lang had never heard of this either. But as far as he knew, Recluse Solar Dragon couldn't know this kind of formation. This kind of formation was extremely heaven-defying and should be an ancient secret formation. This kind of strange formation could only be grasped by the super families. In other words, this formation was either from the Samsara Palace or the Hades Society. Of course, this was only their speculation. There is no proof that the formation was from the Samsara Palace, so they couldn't say anything. Luli paused. His eyes flickered, and he made eye contact with Hu Lang. Suddenly, Luli turned around and stepped back. He waved to the nearly 100 noble Lord Realm warriors. Hu Lang nodded. The nearly 100 noble Lord Realm warriors all followed Luli. Hu Lang rushed toward Recluse Solar Dragon. Luli wanted them to split up the work, and Luli to crack the formation. Since the formation was made up of people, it could be cracked after some were killed. Whoosh, whoosh, the nearly 100 noble Lord Realm warriors divided into 3 teams and dashed toward the same direction like 3 sharp swords. Even though their speed was limited, they were all at the peak of the noble Lord Realm. Their speed was still impressive. Soon, they were close to the warriors in the formation. Buzzing. All of a sudden, the warriors outside began to move fast. What was surprising was that the lines connected to them didn't break. The more than 1,000 warriors moved at the same time, moving in a clockwise direction, fast. Buzzing. Invisible shockwaves spread out from those warriors, surging toward Lu Li and the others as if they were releasing airwaves. A warrior at the peak of the noble Lord Realm made a move, but it was bounced back by the airwaves. Another warrior of the noble Lord Realm didn't believe it. He dashed out, but was pushed back by the airwaves. He couldn't get close to the warriors in the formation. Impressive. Luli was shocked. This formation was miraculous. It could reflect attacks. His eyes flashed, and he controlled some doppelgangers to rush out. In the end, those clones were all shaken back by the blast and then collapsed. Luli shouted to Little White in his sleeve, "Little White, get out." Whoosh, Whitey turned into a streak of white light and charged outside. However, the result was the same. Whitey's body bounced back the moment it came into contact with the airwaves. The airwaves were more than 1,000 feet long. Luli believed that even if he took out the ding of Barbarian God, the suction force of the ding of Barbarian God wouldn't be able to suck the noble Lord Realm warriors in. What was more, those noble Lord Realm warriors were moving fast. Shio! Luli controlled his fate wheel to rush out, but it was bounced back. A group of people were trapped alive in midair. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have believed it. Many people didn't believe it and released their own powerful attacks. However, all of them were bounced back and dissipated in the air. Luli tried to use psychic power to launch soul attacks, but none could pierce through the airwaves. From the distance came a tinkling laughter. Ji Mengyao was floating outside the city with several young masters. Her eyes were filled with sarcasm and mockery. She was like a spectator in a coliseum, watching a group of beasts struggling in a cage. Boom! From behind came a muffled sound of explosion. Hu Lang was smashed away by Recluse Solar Dragon's rod. Luli turned to Recluse Solar Dragon. Seeing that his speed was not limited, Luli knew that the formation was ineffective against him. Hu Lang and Recluse Solar Dragon were at the same realm, but Hu Lang's speed was halved. It was understandable that he was smashed away. Boy! Recluse Solar Dragon dashed over like a flash of lightning. That rod grew larger and larger until it became a huge rod. The huge rod was glaring in a golden color with a dark golden airflow circulating around it. Clearly, it was a holy grade Xian artifact, and not an average one. Move! Luli shouted and steered his fate wheel to dodge to the side. He could fly away, but the other noble Lord Realm warriors were not so lucky. They were gathered together, and their speed was suppressed. Recluse Solar Dragon's speed was horrifying. How could they dodge? Bang! A casual strike from Recluse Solar Dragon had smashed 4 or 5 noble Lord Realm warriors into a pulp. Their bodies exploded in midair. Broken limbs flew around, and blood sprayed everywhere. Spread out. Luli shouted angrily when he saw that the huge rod didn't stop and was sweeping over. There were too many people here. A casual sweep could kill several. How could a noble Lord Realm warrior stand against the might of a human sovereign realm warrior? Whoosh, whoosh, they scattered at once. Unfortunately, two of them didn't react in time. They were hit by the iron rod, and their bodies exploded into a rain of blood. This is not an average attack. Luli frowned as he stared at the huge iron rod. If it were an average attack, the best that could happen would be death. How could it be that the iron rod could make one's body explode? Tortoise Solar Dragon, I am your opponent, Hu Lang shouted in rage. Unfortunately, his speed was suppressed. Before he could get close to Recluse Solar Dragon had dodged. Recluse Solar Dragon pulled back his rod and smashed at Hu Lang. Bang! Hu Lang was strong in defense. The armor he was wearing was definitely of the holy grade. Even though his speed was suppressed and he was smashed away, he didn't sustain serious injuries. There wasn't even blood coming out from his mouth. Hu Lang had a holy grade armor, but the others didn't. Of course, Lu Li was wearing a soft armor of the holy grade. Lu Ling had so many treasures that she had prepared them for him. Lu Li didn't like armors, so he only wore a soft armor under his robe. Ha, ha, ha. Hu Lang, I will kill your warriors first, and then I will torture you to death. Recluse Solar Dragon didn't go after Hu Lang. The golden iron rod continued to grow, and he began to kill all the noble Lord Realm warriors. Outside the formation, they were like turtles in a jar. Recluse Solar Dragon had become a hunter, and he could kill all the prey inside. Lu Li and Hu Lang looked at each other and saw the seriousness in each other's eyes. Recluse Solar Dragon was so fast that they couldn't get close. They couldn't just watch as the nearly 100 noble Lord Realm warriors were killed. Lu Li was worried about the noble Lord Realm warriors while Hu Lang was worried about Lu Li. Lu Li was representing the Cloud's Plains. On the surface, Recluse Solar Dragon was bought over by a force of the Serenity Plains. This was a local dispute, and the Grand Master of the Demon-Slaying Hall couldn't intervene. In other words, even if Recluse Solar Dragon killed Lu Li, the Grand Master of the Demon-Slaying Hall might not show up. At the very least, the Grand Master of the Demon-Slaying Hall would only kill Recluse Solar Dragon, and not the Samsara Palace or the Hades Society. The Samsara Palace and the Hades Society were powerful, so they wouldn't dare to kill Lu Li openly. Recluse Solar Dragon was a lone commander. He must have benefited greatly from the Samsara Palace and the Hades Society, so he wouldn't have such concerns. Recluse Solar Dragon might not even know that the Grand Master of the Demon-Slaying Hall would protect Lu Li for 10 years. Therefore, it was highly likely that he would kill Lu Li. Bang! Chapter 620. Bang, 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 one noble Lord Realm warrior after another was smashed into pieces. Lu Li and Hu Lang were getting more and more worried. Hu Lang had thought this would be an easy mission. All he had to do was to kill some noble Lord Realm warriors with Lu Li, and then the mission would be over. Little did he expect that things would turn out like this. The death of the 100 noble Lord Realm warriors with him was not a big deal. It didn't matter if the mission failed, or even if Hu Lang himself died. But Lu Li could not die. Hu Lang knew Lu Ling too well. She was a cruel and merciless person. If Lu Li died here, so would Hu Lang's entire family. There would be no suspense. Hu Lang forced himself to calm down and looked at the more than 1,000 noble Lord Realm warriors outside. Hu Lang released a hand print toward the sky on the left. He wanted to break the formation by force. As long as the formation was broken, Lu Li could run away easily. Boom! The handprint made contact with the airwave. The handprint was bounced back, but the airwave was bounced back as well. Hu Lang's attack was strong. Buzzing. Hu Lang had decided to fight with all his might. He looked at Lu Li, took out a huge axe, and swung it like a windmill. Xianqi in heaven and earth gathered around him as he flew up. He stopped swinging the axe and hacked at the noble Lord Realm warriors on the left. Howl! a beast shadow came into being in midair and let out a shocking roar. The beast was glowing in a dark glare, and the chi and energy inside was horrifying. It was as if the beast contained horrifying energy that could break any kind of defense. Whoosh! Recluse Solar Dragon saw that Hu Lang was about to use his most powerful, profound meaning. He moved away and smashed at Hu Lang's back with his iron rod. Recluse Solar Dragon wanted to injure Hu Lang so that he could not use his profound meaning. Buzzing, the dark gold air current on his iron rod surged even faster, as if countless golden knives were revolving around his iron rod. Luli didn't know what profound meaning it was, but he was sure that it was a profound meaning with properties of gold. Hu Lang had just released his profound meaning, and he had to keep the beast shadow from collapsing. Sensing the killing move coming from behind, he had to take it head-on. A dark green stream of air appeared outside his body and revolved around his body, forming a thin layer of protection. Whoosh! Luli made a move. He generated many clones and dashed toward Recluse Solar Dragon. When Hu Lang glanced at him just now, he instantly understood what Hu Lang meant. He also guessed that Recluse Solar Dragon would attack Hu Lang. His fate will spun for the first time, but he still controlled its speed. It was only as fast as a Ren Huang in the early stage. Under the suppression of the formation, he could only be as fast as warriors at the later stage of the Noble Lord realm. Bang! Hu Lang's body was heavily smashed by the huge iron rod. His translucent shield immediately shattered, and his back was hit by the iron rod. His holy armor released a dazzling light, and his body was blown away. He spat out a mouthful of blood. This time he was injured. When Recluse Solar Dragon saw that Hu Lang's huge beast shadow did not collapse, he swung his huge stick at the huge beast shadow. He could feel the powerful energy contained in the beast shadow. It was possible that the beast shadow could blow up the formation and the Noble Lord realm warriors outside. By then, the formation would collapse. Xiao! Luli was only hundreds of feet away from Recluse Solar Dragon. Luli sped up to the limit. His clone sped up and dashed toward Recluse Solar Dragon. Luli was sure that Recluse Solar Dragon could see through his real body easily. Even so, Luli stubbornly released his cloning skill for only one purpose. He wanted to confuse Recluse Solar Dragon so that Recluse Solar Dragon would think that he had the chance to kill Luli. Luli wanted to get closer to Recluse Solar Dragon. Human Sovereign Realm warriors had force field that could suppress anyone within a radius of 300 feet. Luli used his clones to confuse Recluse Solar Dragon so that he could form an idea in Recluse Solar Dragon's mind. A piece of trash at the Eternal Realm was overestimating himself and trying to sneak up on him. What was Recluse Solar Dragon using a cloning skill that he thought was powerful? Once Recluse Solar Dragon had this idea, he might not release his force field. Instead, he would let Luli get closer, and then he could find Lu Li's real body and kill him. Of course, this was all Lu Li's speculation. If Recluse Solar Dragon didn't fall for the trap and activated his force field when Lu Li was close, Lu Li would have to wait for his death. Lu Li chose to take a gamble and put his life on the line. Several clones had already dashed toward Recluse Solar Dragon. Recluse Solar Dragon didn't activate his force field city. Instead, he waved his other hand and smashed the clones. Nice! Luli was overjoyed to see this. Both his clones and his real body dashed toward Recluse Solar Dragon in a frenzy. 500 feet, 300 feet, 100 feet. When he was only 300 feet away from Recluse Solar Dragon, Luli noticed that Recluse Solar Dragon still hadn't activated his force field city. Lu Li's soul trembled. Recluse Solar Dragon had underestimated Lu Li. Underestimating an enemy was fatal. Whoosh! Lu Li and 3 or 4 clones wielded their divine weapons of Dragon King and hacked at Recluse Solar Dragon's head. An ant want to shake the heavens? Little bastard, you're dreaming. Recluse Solar Dragon controlled the iron rod with his other hand and smashed down. He didn't even look at Lu Li. His smile was filled with contempt. Recluse Solar Dragon's hand suddenly grew and reached for Lu Li's neck in a flash. Instead of using his fist shadows, Recluse Solar Dragon expanded his hand and used a secret skill to grab Lu Li. As a matter of fact, Recluse Solar Dragon also realized that Lu Li had an unusual identity. He could talk to Ji Ming Yao and suppress her verbally. Recluse Solar Dragon would never believe that Lu Li was just an average warrior of the Eternal Realm. Nice! Lu Li's eyes glowed. He would be an idiot to let go of such a good chance. He shouted, "Little White!" Whoosh, Little White, and Lu Li had a tacit understanding. It flew out from Lu Li's sleeve, landed on Recluse Solar Dragon's hand, and bit at Recluse Solar Dragon's wrist. Ah! Recluse Solar Dragon glanced over with pain and anger flashing in his eyes. He fixed his eyes on Whitey. Seeing the flesh on his wrist being gnawed by Whitey at a terrifying speed, a murderous aura surged out of him. "Go to hell!" Lu Li yelled and smashed at Recluse Solar Dragon's head with his divine weapon of Dragon King. Recluse Solar Dragon felt the coldness coming from the divine weapon of Dragon King. His bald head suddenly glared, and a golden airstream surrounded it, forming a shield. He had let Lu Li's divine weapon of Dragon King hack at his head because he had strong means of defense. Otherwise, why would he let someone hack at his head with a weapon? Wait, a moment ago, Recluse Solar Dragon was still thinking about how to kill Little White. But now, he sensed danger from the depth of his soul. He activated Force Field at once, trying to seal Lu Li up. Bang! His soul had been heavily injured, and it was almost unbearable for him. He almost fainted. Everything happened in a split second. Seeing Recluse Solar Dragon howling, Lu Li sighed to himself. He knew that his vibration waves were not enough. If he had 20 more, Recluse Solar Dragon's soul pond would have been shattered. Boom! He had a total of 27 shockwaves, but he only sent 26 of them in. The last one was naturally left behind to prevent any accidents. The last shockwave did not penetrate into Recluse Solar Dragon's body. Instead, it smashed outside his head. Bang! Recluse Solar Dragon was blown away by the strong force, and Whitey flew back. Recluse Solar Dragon's force field had collapsed. His soul was so badly injured that it was impossible for him to maintain the force field. Therefore, he was smashed away at once. As a matter of fact, at that moment, Lu Li could have taken a risk. When the force field was gone, he could hack at Recluse Solar Dragon again. Given his current condition, there was no way Recluse Solar Dragon could survive. But Lu Li did not dare to take the risk. He could not stand the counterattack of a human Sovereign Realm warrior before his death. Even if he could kill Recluse Solar Dragon, he would be smashed into pieces. PFF. In midair, Recluse Solar Dragon spat out blood. His face was as pale as snow. His expression was ferocious like that of a mad beast. Hiss, hiss. Many people were gasping. Many eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. In the distance, Ji Mingyao's mouth was open so wide that she could fit an egg in. How? Even Hu Lang was stunned. Just now, he was smashed away and didn't notice what was happening. As soon as he looked over, he saw Lu Li smashing Recluse Solar Dragon away. Recluse Solar Dragon seemed to be badly injured. How is that possible? Many people had the same thought. A warrior of the Eternal Realm could injure a warrior of the human Sovereign Realm in one move? Was Recluse Solar Dragon putting on an act? But what he spat out was real blood. The pain on Recluse Solar Dragon's face and the roar just now were enough to tell that Recluse Solar Dragon was in heart-wrenching pain. Recluse Solar Dragon could not be wrong. Then, was Lu Li hiding his real strength? But Lu Li was on a 9-layered fate wheel. It couldn't be a fake fate wheel. At the Great Land, there was a strict distinction between the realms of warriors. The difference of one realm was huge. Not even a warrior of the Noble Lord realm could kill a human Sovereign Realm warrior, let alone an Eternal Realm warrior. Unless that Noble Lord Realm warrior had learned some incredible, profound meaning or had a powerful bloodline. But the premise was that the human Sovereign Realm warrior was a good-for-nothing freak. Hu Lang and Ji Mingyao thought the same thing. Previously, When Lu Li killed the Fire Leopard King, it was Little White, and Mingyu, who worked together with Lu Li and the Fire Leopard King, was badly injured. Back then, Hulang was not so shocked. But now, he could clearly tell that Recluse Solar Dragon was more powerful than him. Naturally, he exclaimed. Ji Mingyao thought of her sister, Ji Mingtian. She was her sister, a sister that made her feel inferior. She used to be the most important young lady of the Ji family. When Ji Mingtian grew up, the position was given to her, and Ji Mingyao accepted it willingly. She could not figure out how Ji Mingyao could be defeated by Lu Li. Now, she finally understood. It was not luck that Lu Li could win the favor of the Grandmaster of the Demon-Slaying Hall and make a name for himself at the Central Plains. Okay, Hulang flew up. How could he let go of such a good chance? He soared into the sky like a raging dragon, heading straight for Recluse Solar Dragon. He wanted to tear Recluse Solar Dragon into pieces while he was down. Run! Recluse Solar Dragon was sensible. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to run away after offending the Pavilion of Blossoms. He rushed out of the formation at once. His soul was badly injured. Without some super elixirs, in half a year's time, he would not be able to recover. His soul was badly injured, and he was feeling excruciating pain. How could he deal with Hulang, who was also at the human sovereign realm? Whoosh! The formation did not bind him at all. He flew out and dashed toward the east like a shooting star. Soon, he vanished into the distance. As soon as Recluse Solar Dragon fled, the rest of the people were dumbfounded. Hulang's attack clearly had the ability to break the formation. It was only a matter of time. Once the formation was broken, would they be able to survive? Of course, the main reason was that their leader had run away. Their morale had dropped. They were scared, and their morale was shaken. Let's go that you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.